calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Step out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline calling in, so they have a female veteran's off her medication. She's at work to Safe Haven. Detecting 12, check that one out.
6-1 bullet, 6-1 Charlie, take a shot.
Officer still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? Okay. If anyone else follows my just result, let me know. First number. 10-4.
Now with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline calling in, so they have a female veteran's off her medication. She's at work to Safe Haven. Detecting 12, check that one out.
6-1 bullet, 6-1 Charlie, take a shot.
Officer still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? If anyone else follows my just result, let me know. 10-5.
3-3. I'm going to supervise the phone and have the case report for this arrest attached.
1830.
Is that possible, Sheridan and Wilson?
Good morning. Hopefully, I always get nervous when I'm doing these temporary setups here. That things maybe ain't working or something. It's just not the usual. There we go. Everything looks good so far. It's not the usual setup, but
It sounds good.
you know, I try. Good morning, and I need my coffee. That's for sure. This pollen, I swear. I'm gonna take a picture and show you guys my hood.
Oh, what?
It's like neon green.
Oh.
My whole car is I just washed it a couple days ago, and
Oh, okay.
the
Okay, I
whole
understand.
the whole car is neon green now. But good morning. Yes, there was a lot of documents that dropped yesterday. Holy crap, there was a lot of stuff too. Wow. A lot of stuff. After going through all of these, before we get into them, I just want to say, I hope this trial is open to the public. There's a lot of stuff you need to see it to believe it. There's a lot of, it's like I was saying, anybody can be Picasso. I want to know what the paint, the oil is made out of. I want to know what the ingredients are. Crazy though. And some other things too. I'm not surprised when it comes to how, in the beginning, just based off of the first press conferences, and you're going, whoa, this ain't normally how press conferences go. Something seems off. And then when you're seeing how they allowed the roommates and friends of theirs that even lived in the neighborhood to intermingle with each other before having more interviews. So,
Right.
And the fact that they didn't even tell them, like they weren't even advised not to discuss things with each other. Can you imagine what all of their conversations would have been like that night? All of the, hey, can you, I'm sure none of them probably slept. They were all going through each one of their own experience and trying to, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a notebook mapping out times of stuff and really trying to figure out what's going on. And then all of a sudden everybody's got the same story. I was shocked though. I was shocked they didn't even advise them not to say nothing.
Yeah, I was shocked by that as well. I kind of suspected that, but I didn't ever expect to see it in writing, So,
Yeah.
and the fact that a lot of them went to the same place afterwards the following evening, I think they said they stayed in a hotel.
Yeah.
That's even
Yeah.
worse as well, because the interviews just continued. And what did they really think? It's human nature to talk about what's happened. What did they think was going to happen?
You know what I'm saying? And not
Yeah.
just the surviving roommates, but friends and neighbors.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like, this is, and you're not even advising them.
No.
Crazy. It was crazy. And there's some confusion. I don't know. People, you really need to read the documents because, oh my gosh, on social media, overnight and this morning, it's, oh my gosh, they weren't even there. They were at a hotel when and it's like, you gotta read the damn document, man.
I
Like,
know.
it gets so
I never see that.
frustrating. The deer blinders that some of these people have, it's like, yo, if you read the documents, like, of course they're gonna be at a hotel. Do you think they're gonna go? They're not even legally allowed to go back in there because of the biohazard uh, that exists in that house. Like, they have to have that professionally cleaned before anybody can come back in because of the biohazard.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to stay at a hotel,
Of course. Yeah.
you know? So for anybody to think that's suspicious or to say that this proves that they weren't there when the crime took place, I feel sorry. Don't even try and go out and renew your license. Just don't, because you're gonna put people in danger. You really are.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna put people in just stay at home. Just stay at home. Watch cooking shows. Good morning. Another crazy thing I want to get into before the documents is the 23 and not me. Because isn't that crazy? 23 and me is filing for bankruptcy. They were hacked. They couldn't recover from the hack, which exposed a whole bunch of people's information.
Oh. I
They
didn't
were
know that.
hacked. They were hacked. They couldn't recover from it. Now they're filing for bankruptcy. And all of these people are urging you, if you have 23andMe, delete your info.
Wow.
Delete it. And if you, I'm going to play a video for everybody real quick. It's something that came out a couple days ago, but it's something that I wanted to really mention before we started the show because they are urging people to delete their 23andMe account information, everything. It's already been hacked. I'm sure people got a notice. If not, it's maybe hidden in an email that they had to send you but didn't want you to see. I don't know. But definitely, if you have it, get rid of it.
Yeah.
They're urging you to get rid of it. And then also this 911 dispatcher backlash. I can't believe, again, all of the backlash that the dispatcher's getting. But I want to play this video real quick for you guys when it comes to this 23andMe. Give me 1 second.
There is concern tonight that a bankruptcy case could leave the private genetic and health data of millions of customers at risk.
So several states are now warning customers of 23andMe to delete their information now that the company's filed for bankruptcy. Fox 4's Lexi French is working for you with tips on how to keep your private data private.
In a letter to customers, 23andMe said that throughout the sale process, they'll seek a partner who shares the same commitment to customer data privacy. But cybersecurity experts say that risks still remain.
What is going on is that no one's really sure of the future of the company.
23andMe lets consumers submit a DNA sample for gene testing related to ancestry and health conditions. If you have a 23andMe account, cybersecurity expert Burton Kelso says now is the time to log in and download your data and then delete it from the company's servers.
Get it?
Don't take those steps to remove your data. If the company were to be sold, if your data is included in that, then it has the potential of falling into the hands of cyber criminals and other parties who may sell that information to companies that don't have
selling your freaking DNA profiles, man. Not just your bank card. Your freaking DNA profile. Wild.
Have a robust cybersecurity system like 23andMe does.
Attorneys general in at least 7 states have issued warnings to customers to consider deleting their information. In a press release and letter to customers, 23andMe said, there are no changes to the way the company stores, manages, or protects customer data. Any buyer will be required to comply with applicable law with respect to the treatment of customer data.
The company hasn't been sold yet, so it's never too late to get rid of your information. You want to do it now while the company is still in operation.
Privacy concerns related to customers' DNA information also emerged during a breach in 2023.
23andMe did suffer a data breach. So if you are receiving scam phone calls, if you're receiving email message, it's a possibility that your information is already on the dark web.
Kelso says the best thing to do if you're getting scam messages is block the sender. 23andMe told customers they'll continue to have full access to their accounts, genetic reports, and stored data throughout the sale process. In Kansas City, Lexi French, Fox 4, working for you.
You're out of
Hey, another story we got to talk about.
You're out of your mind. So please, if you know anybody, I'm glad. I mean, as much as it's nice to find out stuff you might have never known, I mean, because there's, it's done a lot of good. At the same time, in the hands of the wrong people.
Right.
It's scary. Who knows? You know what I mean? When they got your DNA profile, who knows? Technology advances at the speed of light. Yeah, and then also the 911 call dispatcher. We'll get into that in another show, but yeah, it's just crazy. There's more criticism and backlash, and I think it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I feel for her as well.
Yeah. So I know you were working hard up until the show, and for all your hard work. I'm gonna go ahead and let you decide what we're gonna get into first. I just want to throw this up there real quick before we start showing the documents. I didn't mean to show that, did I?
You didn't?
Whoops.
What?
I don't know. It looks pretty similar, don't it?
It does. It looks suspiciously similar.
It looks pretty. Oh, I'm sorry, Caddy. But yeah, we'll get into it. What do you
Let's go with this document.
The what?
Do you want to go with this document?
What,
this
the
is
Bushy Eyebrow? Yeah, let's go into let's do the do the Bushy Eye. All right, hold on one second. Actually, it's giving me PDFs for some reason. Hold on. Let me pull up. Let's see here. All right, we'll pull up the Bushy. I'm just saying, and then when you look at the, hold on one second. Let me show you, because when you look at this picture, I mean, come on. Hold on one second. Open in browser. There we go. Wow, Discord changed the stuff here. Here. So when you're looking at this photo right here, it looks pretty similar. It looks pretty similar to the mask that we just saw on that person. So when you're looking at that mask, and then you're looking at this one, I'm just saying it's pretty close.
Yeah,
I gotta say this. Steve G said that. Wow, did you guys see that post I put out last night? By the way, holy crap, the community post. Anyway, Steve G came out, and how he said the selfie, Brian's selfie was the trophy. This picture right here that we're looking at in real life, that picture looks like a trophy picture after the crime, does it not?
It really
That
does.
that looks more like a trophy picture after committing the crime than Koberger's. That's just my opinion. Speaking of that post, yeah, we'll get into the bushy eyebrows, but did you guys see this post though? Let me pull it up. I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa. Okay. Oh, hold on 1 second. I wish we could navigate the windows a little easier on StreamYard. All right, so go ahead.
No, I was just saying I remember from before it is like awkward to remember which one to click on at what time.
You have to like unshare it, and then it's like,
Yeah.
can we just go from window to It'd be nice because slideshows don't work. But anyway, the Consalvas family page. So I was doing some stuff on another case last night, and I was talking on Facebook, and all of a sudden this came across my feed. I was like, oh, okay, the Dick's Sporting Goods mask, which I mean, I can't imagine. I want to know how many they sold in 2022. But anyway, I seen this and it said the defendant gets screwed by Dick's Sporting Goods. That is. I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. And the people that question things are low class. Right? Like we never even said those words. We never said any kind of class. It's always peace, positivity, and progress.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
And it was like, holy hell. Like, I don't know, that was crazy. It was crazy, but you kind of know who wrote it by looking at what's typed. Looks like he bought a baklava mask and a new court document dropped today. He is done, dead man walking.
Yeah, and I mean, is it any wonder that they're actually putting out motions on courtroom decorum? I'm also getting distracted by the baklava. Isn't that a cake? Like, not balaclava.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, funny thing is, gosh, I always got those words mixed up too. So like if you go back to the old shows, you'll see like when I would refer to it, I'd always tomato, tomato, balaclava.
The only reason I'm asking is because this morning I realized I don't know how to spell balaclava. So I was like Googling it, and now the word is stuck in my head because I've just never written it down before.
Yeah. So, it's tomato. It is what it is. But yes, speaking of breakfast. Okay, so let's get into this document here. We'll go ahead and share this. We'll get into where to go. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Is that going to share? Actually, we'll go ahead and Yeah, we'll share it like this. Is it? Let me go 225. All right, and I'll go ahead and make this bigger too. Just to try and. All right, there we go. Okay, so as we're scrolling through this is the witness identification by Bushy Eyebrows. Now, did you want to, before we go into it, Rosie, did you want to mention anything about this? Because there's some interesting.
Yeah, well, do you want to just go through it? And I mean, there's so many of them, I've kind of forgotten which is which as well. But
yeah,
I think what's really interesting in this one is what they go on about when they talk about like the different phases of memory. I think that's really important. Like that's so interesting as well. And some of the things that affect like memory recall were really at play that night, especially with you know having too much to drink and all of that. It's interesting, I think.
Yeah, a little too much. I mean, hey, well, in all fairness, different people have different tolerances.
Yeah.
But thank you everybody for hopping in. When you're looking at what was being consumed, it's like, holy shit. When I would drink that back in the day, those would be nights I wouldn't even remember, man. I'm just being honest. Those would be nights where the end of the night you're hanging on to a porch rail just to try and you're just you got your hand around there and you're just trying to make it, you're just trying to make it. And yeah, some of those nights you don't even remember. And I can't imagine trying like that happening and then trying to remember. It's no wonder you only saw one eyebrow, because there was only one eyebrow on your wall.
We understand why.
Hey, just being honest. All right. So we'll go ahead and we're going to be obviously doing more episodes. There's like so many documents. We're going to cover different things, and then I'll update the titles and the timestamps accordingly to what we're going through for each show. Comes now Brian C. Koberger buying through his attorneys a record and hereby replies to the state's response to defendant's motion in Lamine regarding witness identification by Bushy Eyebrows filed on March 17th, 2025. Do you want to read it, Rosie? People love your voice. Yeah.
No, they don't. They love your voice.
Oh, hush. Yeah, they do. You should see the comments in the comments section. No, you're more than welcome to read it if you want to. Let me know if you want to.
I can.
Do you want me to scroll it for you on the screen, or? Yeah?
All right.
Okay.
I'll just go from... I'll go from argument.
Yeah, because it's your notes. So when you're coming across something, drop your notes.
My notes.
Yeah, drop
my notes aren't that good. They're just a summary, but okay. So it says mistaken identification has been one of the causes of wrongful conviction in the United States for decades, and still are. When a witness swears under oath to the identification of the person on trial, the impact cannot be understated. In this case, if DM is allowed to say that she saw bushy eyebrows, it will not be different than her pointing to Mr. Koberger and saying that's him. To make matters even more prejudicial, the state wants to admit into evidence a picture of Mr. Koberger as if DM had identified him in the photo. This is how wrongful convictions occur. So, I mean, I think that's like really highlighting how the picture that they posted was never really that relevant, was it? I mean, they were saying that they were using it to confirm that he had bushy eyebrows. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, she never saw that picture. And even if she had, she'd seen pictures of him and she was like, I can't say that's him.
There it is. Okay. Yeah, she couldn't say it was him.
Yeah.
And even when it came to the color of the eyes or the eyebrow itself, you didn't even know. You know? When it comes to these masks, see how many people wear them in Moscow, Idaho.
Really? I mean, it's cold.
I mean,
right?
yes, and a lot of hunters. I mean, come on, those masks are going to be common. Okay, so we bought it before he went there. Maybe it was anticipation of the cold weather because he was going to be moving there in the middle of the year, towards the fall, then the winter, and it's going to be a winter. I mean, PA winters are cold too, but it ain't going to be cold like northern Idaho by the Canadian border cold. So why wouldn't you prepare, you know? But also you guys have to remember that it's been no secret that there was, I mean, hell, Steve G even talked about the pranks. Remember the pranks of the people that were dressing up in SWAT gear and law enforcement gear and EMS gear, pretending to be like, those were all these pranks and stuff too. So you got, like, there's got to be that's why I'm saying there's a lot of stuff. You just got to see that. You got to see what the paint is made out of. And when you're looking at this statement already, it's how do you get to him? And it's just like what Ann Taylor said in one of her last court hearings. She said they're wording things in a way that it will mislead the jury, and that's what you're seeing. All right.
Okay, the photo of Mr. Koberger that the state attached to its response is not relevant and is overly prejudicial. This is akin to the state This is akin to the state trying to identify Mr. Koberger for DM or create its own corroboration for her. DM previously said that she could not identify him. There are literally millions of people in the world who might be described as having bushy eyebrows. The term itself is subjective, and DM has a fascination with drawing eyes and eyebrows. The state contends that DM's statements are independently reliable as law enforcement did not employ a witness identification procedure. Mr. Koberger is not suggesting the DM's descriptive words were developed in conjunction with the lineup. DM was interviewed 5 times. Law enforcement was involved with each interview. According to the state, DM's multiple descriptions of the intruder were based on her own recollection, and they were not the result of suggestive identification procedures employed by law enforcement. Mr. Koberger points out that the court is following instances which are suggestive.
And that's interesting. I need to, when it comes to the suggestive identification, I'm sorry, when you read these documents, to me, there's a lot of suggestive identification.
Right. Yeah, even just like
There is.
like what you've been saying the whole time with frozen shock face, like that didn't come from her. That came from Detective Gooch, however you say it, because she was saying, "I'm not sure if this is a dream," and that's how it got derived into frozen shock face. They are putting words in her mouth a lot of the time, and in the PCA, they're making it sound like she said that.
Yeah. And then showing pictures. We'll get to that. But yeah, I found it interesting right off in the bat. Right off the bat, they're going to mention that they were not the result of suggestive identification. Yeah. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Okay, more gaslighting. More gaslighting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. One in the second interview on November 13th, 2022, DM was interviewed at the police department by Detective Maury, who inquired about facial features and asked DM if she knew what color the intruder's eyebrows were. Detective Maury is the person who mentioned eyebrows. In the third interview on November 17, 2022, DM was interviewed by Detective Gooch, who asked DM if she knew what a balaclava was and showed her a picture. Sorry, I lost my place. Showed her a picture. In the fourth interview on December 1st, 2022, DM drew the mask for the interviewer. A copy of DM's drawing is attached. It looks remarkably similar to a balaclava. So, I mean, they're saying that it wasn't really an original thought. Like, you know, she had been shown a picture and she had time to reflect on that. So, I agree with that. The state argues that DM is a reliable witness. Should the court apply the 5-factor Manson-Biggers balancing test to evaluate witness reliability, it should not ignore either the limited amount of time that DM had to view the intruder or her state of intoxication. A witness is less likely to provide an accurate identification from fleeting view, and a witness's attention is likely compromised when they are intoxicated. DM saw the intruder briefly in a dark hallway, and in her own words, she was probably very drunk and tired when she saw the intruder at 4 a.m. Should the court apply a relevance test and weigh the reliability of DM's exclusion of the term bushy eyebrows is appropriate for all of the reasons explained in the Mason-Biggers test, and intoxication is referred to in Almara. If the court decides to rely upon Mason-Biggers and Almara, it should consider the scientific studies that explain the fragility and inaccuracy of memory. This analysis, which is applicable to a court's decision to exclude or limit this evidence, is the fact that scientific studies conducted on memory show that there are several steps to creating and retaining memory, and influences such as the amount of time of exposure to view, the amount of stress involved, and the level of intoxication and post-event influences, among others, should be taken into consideration when determining reliability. The science of memory is laid out below. And I think that's pretty fair if you think about everything that went on while she was supposed to be retaining that memory. Like, it's not a straightforward situation, is it?
No. When you have different statements even, and you're you're also telling them, look, it could be a dream. It really could have been a dream. It really could have. But when they're, and this is, when they're interviewing them and they're asking them for, the accounts of what they remember, and they're telling you they don't remember, that is suggestive when you're taking out items and you're showing them, is it like this, is it like this, do they look like that? That right there, when does that happen? Usually they're hammering them, or if they're not hammering them, you basically get the minimal, and it's not like leading in a certain area. You have to let the evidence lead you, not suggest where the evidence goes.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with like a witness who's already fragile from all of these factors. I don't think they should be bringing up the topic of eyebrows for her to latch on the idea. It's just not really appropriate.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of questions with it because when we were told that they were asleep that whole time, and then we find out that there's a whole bunch of activity, and there's large chunks that are missing. There's conversations that are suggested or paraphrased. There's not a reliable. This is why I feel like, and I feel bad for the girls. I feel bad for the girls because it's when the PCA came out and you saw the statements and the wording. Right there, it already didn't make sense when it came to the statements. You can go to my shows when it came out. It didn't make sense. And I've always felt since that they were going to be used as scapegoats. They were going to be used as scapegoats because they can twist however they want to twist it. It's up to the girls to have to get on the stand and testify to their statements, to what law enforcement has said. And they were telling you they didn't know anything. Now all of a sudden, I could see when this came out and they looked at it, they were like, oh my gosh, this makes it seem like I can ID him and I can, I know my statement is all up on the social media when it comes to the events that were used in the PCA for DM. And I can imagine, yes, they're not reliable. They know they're not reliable. They knew they weren't reliable, but they were used like they were reliable for somebody else's benefit.
Right.
And I feel they're going to get ripped to shreds on the stand.
Yeah, I know. I also feel bad for them, but I mean, it also seems like there were certain things, just based on stuff we've heard in the hearings. It seems like there were certain things that didn't suit what they wanted to put in the narrative, and those things weren't included. Like Ann Taylor mentioning that DM said she saw somebody coming down the stairs when she couldn't have seen that. So they're just picking and choosing what suits them.
Yeah.
And it should all be blanketed as unreliable or reliable. You can't just sit and select, be like, yeah, that fits, that doesn't, that does. That's not how it works. And that's absolutely what they're doing. They're just shopping for facts and throwing the rest out. I've never seen anything like it.
No, it's because it's manipulation. It's contradictions, questions and contradictions. No, when it comes to the hotel, if anybody reads the court document, it says that they stayed there the night of the 13th. The crime took place early morning of the 13th. They're not going to allow anybody to go back inside the house because it's a biohazard. The toxicity of the air it's biohazard. You have to be certified to even go in there to clean it and handle all of that. So, of course, they're going to put them in a hotel later that night after the crime took. Once they're out of that house, there's no way they're allowed to go back in. You're not allowed.
Yeah,
You're
I
not.
mean, where are they supposed to go? Like, it makes sense.
Yeah. They have to go to a hotel. So all people have to do is read the document. It is, Heather. It's a toxicity to the brain. The PCA is, especially when you're trying to, like, when you're digging through it and you're seeing all the just the clerical errors alone was just like, this was a sloppy, thrown together quick. Here, sign this real quick. It's go time. It was wild. All right, so we'll get back to this. This document here.
All right. I feel like I'm reading too fast. I'm gonna try.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. The first phase in the development of memory is the acquisition or encoding phase. The acquisition of memories depends on perception and all the factors that affect perception, such as distance, lighting, and duration of exposure. Because perception also depends on several individualized factors, the encoding phase of developing memories is affected by many of the same criteria. And I mean, we know that's an issue. Like, okay, the distance of what she saw, she says it was 3 feet, but lighting and duration, I mean, it was dark and it was quick. We know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're talking about that small area. Let me share it here real quick. All right, so you're talking about this small area right here going through this doorway, and I believe this is what hit. I believe this good vibe light sign was like a night light for the stoop right there, so people didn't trip. So they had this good vibe light sign up. It kind of illuminated the stoop there, so when everybody would move, navigate in the dark, it wasn't always dark, and it was pretty bright too when you got the photos from outside, and the photos going in there. It was a pretty bright light, and so that's you're going to be the face of the person's going to be illuminated, and it excuse me, it probably was 3 feet, because when you're looking at this photo, right, where's the illumination going to take place? The illumination on the person's face is going to be it ends where the wall ends. Okay, so if the person would be standing basically right before the side part of the entrance, that
Yeah.
foot right there that's going around the doorway, they would be before that. So like basically literally standing before they go underneath the doorway would be the last spot where their face would be illuminated from that light. So when you're looking at the distance from the doorway of Dylan to that spot, that is 3 feet. So if somebody's peeking in the door, and let me see if I can give you another photo. Okay, can I move? Let me see here. Sorry, hold on. Well, anyway, so there's the doorway. I don't know where here it is right here. Okay. So there's the doorway. So she's peeking, okay? She's peeking through that door crack right there. She's peeking, leaned up. Obviously, you only need to crack it a 1/4 inch to look out. And maybe that's part of the reason why it wasn't that good of a witness sighting either, because you're peeking out just a crack. And so you're also intoxicated. But you go from that area right there. Okay, I know it's kind of a skewed image there. It won't let me go back, but so if you go from right here where the crack is to right here on the other side, that's got to be 3 feet, I would imagine. So I can see the 3 feet. But how? Yeah, it's dark. You have that little illumination right there. You're looking through a cracked door. You're looking through with one eye. You're squinting already.
Yeah.
You know, it's so. How are you supposed to get that good of a witness sighting? It's no wonder she didn't even know what color of eyes or eyebrows, because you're looking through a cracked door, squinty eye, intoxicated. No crap.
Yeah. And with it being very quick as well. Yeah.
And look at this. On Saturday, November 12th, through the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th, 2022, DM had consumed champagne, 9 to 10 seltzers, White Claws with 5%, Borg, a concoction of hard alcohol water and flavoring in a big plastic jug, and an unknown amount of alcohol while participating in a drinking game. This footnote just recites the alcohol consumed in an approximate 24-hour period and does not include alcohol consumed in the immediate days prior to November 12th, 2022. Dude, when I was telling you about the stuff where I was hanging on the rail of the porch just trying to make it,
Yeah.
it didn't include champagne seltzers or any of that other stuff. It was just the jug. All right. It was just the jug. Usually that involves Everclear. Usually it involves Everclear. Has anybody in chat ever drank Everclear before? It's not even legal in some states. I don't even know if it's legal anymore, honestly. It's been so long, but let me know if anybody's drank Everclear. Type it in chat and you'll know what I'm talking about. That's usually in the jug.
I've never heard of it, but yeah.
It'll make you forget that you won't even remember.
People say yes. People know.
Yeah. It's a concoction. You usually have Everclear, then you got some fruity stuff. You got fruity stuff. You got all sorts. It's just a big mixture, and it's meant to knock you the F out. And you drank all of that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, we don't know the tolerance, but damn.
Right.
I mean, and that she probably was good at that drinking game. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. Because man, if you can handle all that, I can't imagine you would have drank me under the table. I'm just saying. Whew.
I don't think I would have survived that.
Oh, I could drink like a fish back then too. Just chug.
Been able to.
Yeah, I quit drinking a long time ago. Maybe wine once in a while. You know, that's more my style. Maybe a little cognac once in a while, but that's far and few between. All right, we'll go. Did you want to read this, or you want me to skip ahead to?
Yeah, you can skip ahead. I think.
Here.
Yeah. Okay. Sensory overload has particular relevance to the encoding phase. It can lead to so much incomplete sensory acquisition that confabulation, the creation or substitution of false memories through later suggestion, can occur to fill in the many gaps that exist. In this case, the time period of observation was seconds at most, with limited lighting, under stress and expressed fear, and with a witness who has repeatedly expressed that she was unsure.
Mm-hmm.
She was in a frozen shock phase. She did not know if it was a dream. And there is a time delay in her reporting what she saw.
Big time delay.
The next part of the memory process is the retention or storage phase. During this phase, the brain stabilizes and consolidates memories for storage until they are called upon for retrieval. The amount of data being encoded and retained in one factor that is the one factor that affects this phase. I promise I can read. Okay, the greater amount of data presented, especially in shorter periods of time, the less that will be retained. Okay, so they're saying like it was a really big input of information and the time was shorter. A second key factor in the retention interval, how much time passes between storage of the memory and the retrieval of it. A third factor is the most potentially negative effect on the memory retention, the post-event misinformation effect. Exposure to subsequent information affects how earlier memories are retained and retrieved. This means that an eyewitness exposed to post-event misinformation can accept erroneous or even non-existent details as if they were true.
Yep.
That's
And what happened at the hotel? A whole bunch of post-event misinformation. That's what happened. It did. It did. And they didn't even advise them, Rosie.
I know.
They didn't even say, don't talk about it amongst yourselves, please.
What do you think they did? They would just like sit in the corner while we figured this out.
It's in the manual. They don't even have to think for themselves. They can go to their manual in their nice new police department that they needed. You know, shout out University of Idaho for buying the old one. Wink, wink. But they got those beautiful cabinets that have all those binders, and they literally could have just went to the binder and pulled it out and said, okay, what are we supposed to do next? Even airline pilots have a manual, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They even have a manual in case of a disaster or a catastrophe. They get the manual and they look. You didn't even get the manual. What's up, typically? I need to have you on for a document show. I'm going to be doing some more tonight, tomorrow, probably the next night. We're going to be doing some document shows, going through different documents, and let me know. I'd like to have you on for one of them too. I'm sure you guys are probably, going crazy with all these documents too. So let me know. Reach out to me. Email me. But yeah, whole lot of post-event misinformation going on in that hotel.
Okay, in this case, not only was there an 8-hour delay in reporting prior to the first law enforcement interview, DM was allowed to mingle with BF and other friends. Enforcement did not separate all of the friends who came to 1122 King Road prior to interviews, and no warning was given to not discuss the facts, and no effort was made to limit such a discussion. Many of the friends who were at 1122 King Road when the police arrived also stayed in the same hotel room the night of November 13th, 2022. There was also extensive media coverage. Post-event
Sorry.
Post-event misinformation must be considered as a factor on the accuracy of DM's memory retention.
It must be.
Okay.
It must be. Now I can throw that up for everybody. Go.
Yes. Give me a fright. It's like, oh, my name.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Special guest overtime with Rosie.
Hello. Okay. Finally, during the retrieval phase, the brain searches for the pertinent information, retrieves it, and communicates it. This process occurs when eyewitnesses describe what they observed to police, when they participate in identification confrontations, and when they testify in court. Several factors affect retrieval. Time is a very important factor in memory retrieval. As a rule, the longer the period between acquisition, retention, and retrieval, the more difficulty we have in retrieving the memory, phenomenon referred to as memory decay. By the time DM testifies, almost 3 years will have passed after 5 law enforcement interviews where her recitation of the events of November 13, 2022 changes, and after extensive media coverage about the case, which almost always includes pictures of Mr. Koberger. Memory retrieval in these circumstances weighs against reliability. Conclusion. For the reasons addressed above and in Mr. Koberger's initial brief, the court should grant Mr. Koberger's motion in... Okay, I said lemine. I know now, lemonade. Thank you for all the corrections. To exclude DM.
Tomato, baklava, balaclava. Right?
Lemonade. From using the words bushy eyebrows to identify the intruder that she saw, and to exclude DM from identifying Mr. Koberger based on bushy eyebrows. The court must additionally prohibit the state from acting as an identifying witness by admitting a picture of Mr. Koberger in evidence in support of DM's testimony for any other reason. Mom and mom.
Yeah, I say mom, you say mom.
People were upset. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. There's other things in life to be upset about. Come on now. Pick your battles. You know what I'm saying? Pick your battles. So when it came to they're even trying to get rid of the bushy eyebrow comment. This is sad. It's like they're trying to get rid of it because it was a suggested identification.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking, you're taking the names out of it. You're looking at the process. Take the names out of it. Take the crime out of it. Look at the process. Look at the paperwork. Look at the when it comes to these key words. Well, when you're looking at the identification process and then you're looking at what was used, you have to, no matter what crime it is, you have to look at it like that, even if it was like robbing a building or something. You still have to look at it that way. So it's important. All right, let me see here. Let me go to... All right, so what else did you want to cover next?
I can't remember what I emailed you. I sent them in separate.
You got vague and undisclosed Amazon and autism.
Well, do you want to pick one of those? I think
we can go I think the Amazon click activity would probably be good when it comes to the bushy eyebrow stuff. Let me see here. What did I have it at? 225. All right, so let me share that here real quick. And thank you all for hopping in. Appreciate it. Yeah, typically, let me know. We're going to be doing shows the next couple days, going through the different ones. I'm just going to allow others to kind of discuss the documents they want to, and I can discuss them at the same time with them, and then we'll get to whatever's left over when we get there. But this is a good one that goes with the bushy eyebrows.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, but some of the complaints they were making in this document, it sounded like they weren't saying it, but it was almost like the state's behavior in terms of the Amazon evidence was a little bit similar to the IGG, in the sense that the defense was kind of saying, like, you're not really giving proper detail. You're just trying to, like, give an outcome, and you're not, like, showing this whole process. So it sounded like, I took out the specific quote, but we'll get to it. It sounded a little bit like they were noticing the same behavior. Maybe.
I don't know. It's I want to know who's the witness that stopped him
Shane Cox, I think.
from buying the Amazon employee was the witness that his suspicions were confirmed and he stopped him from buying it. I mean, how did it was under a joint account. How do you even know it was him?
Yeah, and also, I mean, what they mention in here as well is that okay, so he never actually bought the second one, but they kind of say that you have to bear in mind that if you've bought something, then Amazon can remind you about it later.
Yeah,
Or
that is true.
so it can also like come back if it fits well with items that you're looking at again, and it knows that you bought it before. So the fact that I don't know the details. I don't know if he put it in his cart the second time or anything, but they do mention it here, which I think is kind of interesting because I mean that is true. Like every time you look at something, it'll just start sending it to you, and then it'll also like it wants reviews on the things that you've bought and all of that. So it doesn't just forget that you bought something. So I don't know about the second time. I don't know if it was like if it just you know how sometimes it just like pops up there when you're browsing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it does because I'll get my cologne off there, and I will get buy again thing will pop up. I mean, the things will pop up even like when one of them is like on sale or something.
Right.
It'll pop up, but it was weird. Like you heard Steve G, and then you read the document. You heard Steve G last week come out on mainstream media and say like, yeah, there was a witness who stopped him right in time, and his suspicions were confirmed. And I'm like, who the hell is this witness that stopped him in time? Like there was a family member that jumped over the couch, Ryan, no, and knocked the mouse out of his hand or something, right?
Right. That is how he made it sound. I just don't think it's that. I really don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
No. Slow motion. Hey, when we make it big time, we'll have like graphics that pop up, like whammy guys flying over the couch. No, knocking the remote, knocking the mouse.
As long as we don't try to say we saw it happen.
The suspicions were confirmed. It's like, whoa. What the hell? All right. So we'll get into this. Go ahead, Rosie. I'll let you take it with your notes. We can skip this. Or do you want to read this, or you want me to just skip ahead to the...
Skip ahead.
Right there for the first time.
Yes, that's good. Okay. So for the first time on March 14th, in my country, we put the 14th first, so it confuses me so much. Okay. For the first time on March 14th, 2025, the state provided an expert disclosure of opinions of Shane Cox and federal agent Michael Douglas regarding their opinions related to Amazon records. This is an example of abusive discovery tactics by the state. There is a pattern of failing to disclose evidence and expert opinions in compliance with the court's order. These prosecutors blow past deadlines and respond after it has brought to the court's attention and after they have the benefit of having Mr. Koberger's expert opinions. The state's expert disclosures is 3 months past the deadline, with trial looming in less than 5 months.
Oh, right here.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Koberger seeks to protect his rights to due process, effective assistance of counsel, and fair trial guaranteed by the 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 13 of the Idaho Constitution. So that's kind of what I was thinking when I was saying Like, are they pointing out behavior that we've maybe heard about before?
We've seen it. We've seen them, like, with, especially with all the supplemental request discoveries in the beginning. You go back to 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and you got there's discovery that's supposed to be handed over, because remember, they're like, we could go to trial this fall.
Yeah,
We could go to trial this fall. And it's like, whoa, bro. And she's like, wait a minute, I'm still asking. That's where all the supplemental discovery requests came in. I don't even remember what number they're on now. But back then it was, and that's when Bill Thompson was up there with his notebook, and he'd be like doing this with it, and we can't produce anything we simply do not have, and over and over and over. And it's true, like Judge would set a deadline and they would just blow right past it. It was deadline after deadline after deadline. Don't cross this line. Okay, you crossed it. Here, I'm going to draw a new one. Don't cross that one. Oh, okay, you crossed it. Let me draw a new one. Don't cross that one. Right?
Right. Exactly that.
That's how it was. I mean, when how many other cases have that many supplemental discovery requests? There's a reason why you go to before they did it all nice and organized, man, you'd be scrolling down and down and down, 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 and down and down, and the other ones are just like a couple blips and that's it.
Yeah. I'm glad that they write new next to them now, because otherwise my eyes would just...
There's so many. Even like, because I had a show prepped for last night, and the documents came out, and I'm like, I got to go through all these. I got to read them. And I'm going to be doing that show later this weekend, because it's going to be more on the Eric DM disconnection, trust me. But it was like, man, I got to go through these. And I was even getting anxiety last night with all the documents. I'm like, holy heck, there's just so much.
Yeah.
And I'm glad.
They do not disappoint.
No, they didn't. There's just so much. It's like, yikes. But hey, we're going to be having a few shows going through the key ones, and because they're important. These documents, there's a lot of them. There's a reason why we'll be doing different, multiple shows with these documents, because there's a lot of stuff in them too. A lot of very important things that need to be discussed and talked about, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Arguments. The state seeks to use expert testimony to show that a very narrow set of Amazon records of purchase and click history related to a K-bar knife and sheath makes it more probable than it would be without the evidence that the K-bar knife sheath found at the crime scene was Brian Koberger's, and that the click activity after the homicides makes it more probable than it would be without the evidence that Koberger had a reason to search for a K-bar knife and sheath after the events. Asserting that lay testimony would be appropriate for these issues, the state claims that Mr. Cox is not needed as an expert because the Amazon records speak for themselves. It claims the expert disclosure is given in abundance of caution on its part. In a separate motion, the state seeks self-authentication of Amazon records. As set forth in Mr. Howell's declaration, Amazon data is complex. There is nothing about its production, review, or analysis, algorithm, or machine learning that a lay witness could explain to a jury. Without proper expert explanation, the data itself is misleading, especially incomplete and cherry-picked data, as is the case here. So, I mean, that's pretty serious if they're saying cherry-picking data, and they want to just introduce it without a witness and let people come to their own conclusions and just like
Right.
they're saying this is complicated. You can't just do that.
Right. You cherry picker. You can't. No, for real. You can't be cherry picker in court without that. You that's out of line if you don't have something to back that up.
Yeah.
Very, very out of line in court. So to accuse the other of doing so is very important too, because when these documents, Bianca, when it comes to these documents, they're obviously writing them and they're wording them in a particular way. The documents are its own game of chess, and they know there's a reason why they put that piece there, that cherry picker piece. They wouldn't put it there if there wasn't a reason for it. So that's interesting that they chose that. I know they mentioned some other interesting words like cherry picked in some of these other documents when we come across.
And laundry list. That's their new thing that they've like thrown back at the state.
Yes.
Like a laundry list. It's like, okay, this is a new legal term now because Bill Thompson shouldn't have said that.
Yes. Yes. Very interesting.
Okay. Not only did the state fail to properly disclose the evidence and expert opinions, but it also advises that it is awaiting additional information from Amazon that the state understands will clarify that to the extent AI is incorporated into Amazon systems. Apparently, more late discovery tied to expert opinion is coming. Slightly sarcastic.
Just slightly. Just a little.
Of note, Mr. Koberger sought to suppress the Amazon search warrants as overload and general warrants because of the extensive amount of records requested. The court denied that motion. Now that the state has disclosed expert opinions, it is clearer that the state intends to use incomplete data and to mislead the jury. It's pretty strong wording to say that.
I mean, she said it in the last couple court hearings they had, and we'll be streaming both of the court hearings on the 9th and 10th coming up, so just keep that in mind as well.
Okay. State ignores that the Amazon records reflect a household of users on the Amazon account at issue and a long list of items purchased over a period of several months for a road trip or hiking, to include roadside repair kit, tire inflator, a backpack, and bear spray. What is bear
crap.
spray?
Oh my gosh. Yo. That's something that a killer would use. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Bear spray is so you don't get attacked by a bear out in the wilderness. So it's like instead of a human scent, you spray it on so it masks your scent. So then bears don't smell you and they come attack you. For hunters. Yeah, it's like just like how like hunters that are going out there for deer will spray deer piss on them to mask the scent so the animals don't sense them. But man, yeah, when it comes to this Amazon account activity, I hope somebody doesn't, wouldn't that be crazy if like somebody's like, do you remember the person in the mask, what their eyebrows look like or what color their eyes were? No, but I remember they were wearing cool water cologne. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. That would suck.
Saying they smell like a bear.
I don't even know if I changed how I shopped a long time ago. I don't even know if I might just, from now on, I might just go to the store. I might just go to a store in disguise, pay cash only. Pay cash only. I
think it's really important that everybody just plucks their eyebrows straight away.
get on a bike and ditch it in the garbage after I make the trip. All right, ditch it in a dumpster on the way after I make the trip. That way they can't tie the cologne to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, and it's shared by a family. What if Dad was wanting to buy it? What if Dad was wanting to buy it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the state ignores it reflects a household of users and a long list of items. Long list. All right.
Okay. The state argues that the rule of completeness does not apply, and therefore it is appropriate that limited information about Amazon be placed in front of the jury. This argument ignores and violates Mr. Koberger's right to present a complete defense. As Justice Potter Stewart wrote, any rule that impedes discovery of truth in a court of law impedes as well the doing of justice. Allowing the state to produce limited data without context and the methodology of how Amazon works is akin to telling the jury that they may assess the product of an investigation, but that it may not analyze the quality of the investigation that produced this product. This illogically removes from the jury potentially relevant information. Details of the investigatory process potentially affect the investigator's credibility and perhaps more importantly, the weight to be given to the evidence produced in his investigation. Mr. Howell explains the critical need for full data and understanding of what it means to click on Amazon. Click data sounds like a specific user action when in fact Amazon's algorithm, machine learning, and methods of paid advertisement force information to account users which fall under the definition of click data. Features like customers also frequently bought together, omni-channel influence, and household accounts with multi-users have a significant impact on what is considered click data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? I'm sure there was. You can imagine all of the items that could have been on there when it comes to a whole family that used it. And yes, you do buy again. You get the buy again, especially if it notices, there's certain activity at certain time. It's all algorithm based, and that's what these companies do is they take your data, and they try and gear that towards learning how you shop and what you shop for suggestions, so you spend more money and you need more of this or you need more of that. That's crazy that they can include that in the definition under click data, because you're not clicking on it. Unless you're clicking on it, then you're clicking on it. But that's crazy to me that the forced feeding of that can be considered click data. So if something comes across your screen on there, you might not even, it could be a suggested item. You might never have clicked on it, but it falls under the definition of click data. That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Essentially it has nothing to do with you, but it's there.
Busby says it's the reason people should delete their cookies and cache.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. That's dangerous. So you can click on something even though you didn't click on it.
Additionally, Amazon notifies users of items bought in the past as a reminder, which can be interpreted as click data. Logs of this data are retained by Amazon because Amazon bills its advertisers. For the reasons addressed above and in his initial brief motion in limine, number 2, to exclude expert testimony, the details of the expert disclosure of Mr. Howell, motion for leave to call him as a witness, and the declaration of Mr. Howell, Mr. Koberger respectfully requests this court grant him motion in limine to exclude any Amazon and Amazon click activity evidence. He renews his request for live testimony by Mr. Howell on the April 9th or 10th. Should the court allow the state to continue in its abuse of deadline and incomplete expert disclosures by allowing this evidence, Mr. Koberger seeks to confront the Amazon evidence at trial with the testimony of Mr. Howell.
And I can't wait for those. Like I said, we'll be streaming those live the 9th and 10th. And that, man, look at those words. Should the court allow the state to continue in its abuse of deadlines and incomplete expert disclosures?
Yeah.
Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Holy document drop. And there's so much. There's so much more. Yikes. So yeah, that is, it's scary when you think about it. So
Yeah.
you know, can you imagine if there was something in it and you didn't even click on it? Think about it like this too. You know when you don't even have to have purchased it before, right? You could be talking about something. How many of us have sat back and talked about something, and all of a sudden it pops up on our shopping suggested list, or it pops up as a YouTube video in your recommended playlist, or it pops up on a website. You know, like does that happen? Yeah, like there's I guarantee there's 95% of people out there, I guarantee, will say that yes, when they've talked about something, it shows up on their damn phone. No, how? Because the phones listen to you.
They listen? Oh, okay.
Yes, they listen. Yes, they do. It's like you'll be talking about it with somebody on a conversation. All of a sudden, you get on your Facebook and there's like little reels and stuff, and all of a sudden you're like, "Holy hell! I was just talking about Captain Crunch's Oops All Berries on to Jimmy, and look, now there's a advertisement for Captain Crunch Oops All Berries on Facebook." It's true.
I've never seen it happen. Maybe I'm not paying attention to it. I don't know. But I think I would notice that.
Yes. Look at chat. It's See? I noticed that yesterday. I thought about something and a video popped up in minutes. Like, seriously. So can you imagine when this click data that can be click activity evidence, and you're talking to somebody else about, who knows, a true crime case. Yeah, I heard they drug her out the back with a tarp and wrapped in willow branches. All of a sudden, next thing you know, woo, 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 somebody that was wrapped up in a tarp and willow branches was found like 5 miles away, and you're getting knocked on your door, and they're like, "That's who did it. Their Amazon click activity evidence showed that they clicked on tarp and bamboo branches or willow branches." There, what? Damn. Right there.
Not safe.
I mean, Just like, what? Seriously, what if you? What if? Hey, 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 yeah, man. They're saying that they found this or something. This, bam, it pops up. You just, it's dangerous. How can that? That I hate that. I hate that they can use the word click activity with something that an algorithm is throwing to
Yeah.
you with that's the algorithm's decision.
Yeah.
That's the algorithm's decision. That's not yours. What's up, Trey? Like,
It's just reading that, Trey.
I didn't do it. No, for real though. Like, you click on something and then bam, it shows up. It shows up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's dangerous, man. So think of anything. You could be talking a true crime case, and because you're talking about a true crime case, all of a sudden your phone's listening to you, and then you got click activity evidence, even though you didn't click activity shit. That's huge. That's huge, and that's very scary, very dangerous, especially. It should be in its own category. I don't understand why it's included in click activity.
Yeah. I mean, it is scary. I don't know if maybe I have like some setting that's turned off or something, but I just.
No. It's probably because you're in another country. It's our own government. It's our own.
Okay.
Well, not our own government necessarily. There's other governments that, there's certain devices or programs that they are in charge of that you literally sign your microphone and your camera off to the, like, that's one of the reasons, like, TikTok, they're trying to ban it. It's because you're allowing your camera and your microphone, you're allowing them to have access to it at any moment, and they're from somewhere else that's trying to, like,
Okay. I understand.
start shit here soon. Trust me. No, it's true. It's not looking good in the next couple years when it comes to us in that other country, but that's for another show. All right. So, hey, I need to do politics sometime. Should the court allow the state to continue in its abuse of deadlines and incomplete expert disclosures? Crazy. That's crazy as well.
Yeah.
A lot of.
They've attached all of the stuff from David Howell now. Yeah. Do you want to read about his qualifications, or do you want to skip to what he has to say about? I mean, I can read his qualifications if people want to know. Do people want to know?
Oh, it's up to you. It's up to you.
Okay, let me read. Let me read that. Okay. All right. I am the. Okay, so this is for David Howell. I am the founder and principal of Howell and Associates, a firm specializing in brand protection, e-commerce channel compliance, digital forensics, and online marketplace analytics. I have more than 20 years of experience in the e-commerce ecosystem with a significant focus on Amazon's marketplace. I've worked with national and international brands in evaluating threats, fraud, and marketplace manipulation involving Amazon and other major platforms. My work includes investigating counterfeit activity, digital behavior, product diversion, unauthorized sales, channel management violations, and identifying algorithmic manipulation across e-commerce platforms. I am regarded in the industry as an expert in online marketplace data analysis and forensic evaluations of digital purchase behavior.
I am regarded in the industry as an expert.
Yes, I am.
I am an expert. My friends tell me. Hey, at least he knows his accolades and achievements, unlike Brett Payne. I don't recall.
How are you regarded? I don't know.
I don't recall.
Oh, great.
This is Dylan, Bethany, and Brett Payne's key, famous words in the upcoming trial are going to be, I don't recall. I mean, it's funny, but it's sad at the same time, but it's true.
That was frozen.
There's going to be a lot of I don't recalls when they're on that witness stand. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay. Artificial intelligence, or AI, for the purposes of this declaration, refers to systems that simulate human intelligence by making predictions and decisions based on user data. Machine learning, ML, refers to the subset of AI that enables these systems to improve over time through exposure to new data. Both AI and ML are core components of Amazon's internal recommendation systems, search result algorithms, advertising delivery, and behavioral targeting tools. My firm regularly analyzes Amazon data to uncover fraud, track user behavior, and interpret system-driven changes in product visibility and recommendations. Our work is focused specifically on Amazon because it is the largest online retailer, and our clients face daily challenges with how their products are promoted, represented, and counterfeited through ecosystems.
Okay.
Okay, scope of review.
Sinuses.
You okay?
Oh, my sinuses. They're just messing with me. Go ahead. Sorry.
I have reviewed the materials produced by the state in this matter, including Amazon clickstream and purchase records, as well as expert declarations and summaries submitted by state-designed experts. I've also reviewed the motion in limine filings related to Amazon data. Clarifying click data. The state refers to a portion of the Amazon records as click data. While this terminology may suggest a comprehensive behavioral log, it does not reflect the depth or complexity of how Amazon tracks user behavior. In reality, a click on a product is just one visible output of Amazon's AI-driven and advertising-based systems. These clicks are influenced by recommendation algorithms, sponsored ad, cross-device history, retargeting behavior, and account personalization, all of which shape what the user is shown before they click.
Mm-hmm. Before they click. Before they click. At least, and this is the thing. Like, hey, it's a good thing all of your colleagues tell you you're an expert, and you'll be able to testify that it's also including information that's based on recommendations, sponsored, cross-device history, targeting behavior, all which have shaped what the user is shown before they click. So when they bring up in the very beginning about how it is a account that is shared by multiple people, it's not basing it off of just Brian C. Koberger. It's basing it off of males and females, older and different ages, different needs, desires, interests. It's a whole bunch. Not just Brian Koberger. So as much as he's going to explain, yes, it was in the click data history, at the same time, he's also going to be cross-examined and how, yes, well, he doesn't necessarily have to click on it in order for it to be included. And that's true, Aaliyah. AI is going to be the downfall of humanity. Damn straight. Damn straight. And the more that we depend on it too, That's the scary thing. Talking about politics, the more we depend on that, the more that, I mean, hell, just look at the 23 and not me. I need that t-shirt right there. 23 and not me. Speaking of t-shirts, by the way, hold on one second. I've had this sitting here for a little while, but I'm actually going to be stopping by somewhere this afternoon. I'm going to be stopping by somewhere this afternoon to check out some more stuff, and hopefully we can have this coming soon with the hot dog steak on whatever color of tea you want. So, yeah, the hot dog steak, baby. Speaking of hold on one second. All right, I just had to throw that in there. All right, but yes, it's dangerous. It's dangerous when it comes to the words and how it can. Because listen, when it's just like all the people that are calling him toasted and cooked. You know, yeah, the click data confirms, and Steve G, you know, he was about to buy it, and somebody jumped over the couch in slow motion and slapped the mouse out of his hand, and zip tied him after that. You know, and then you read the document, and you're like, oh, well, it does. It also includes. It also includes the fact that it's stuff that doesn't even have to be clicked on, and it's being suggested off of pre-purchase data and all of these other analytics. So yes, very dangerous.
AR Hayes is here.
Hey, what's up, AR? What's up, buddy? Email me if there's any certain documents you would like to go over, buddy. I'm going over documents in multiple shows here the next couple days. I'm going to be having different people on discussing the key documents that they're really digging into, and just kind of sharing the platform with the community, just to try and talk about all this stuff, because it's crazy. There's so many documents to cover. We're going to cover all of them in all these different shows the next few days. And there's so much in it, and there's so much that's very important when it comes to this trial and this information that is being discussed out there in the community, for sure. What's up, Backwood? How you doing as well, buddy?
Okay. My expert opinion is that click data as presented is only a surface level snapshot. It must be understood as part of a broader ecosystem of behavioral inputs and algorithm.
Tomato. Just say algo. Just say algo.
Algo outputs.
That's right.
Without the accompanying data, such as recommendation logs, ad exposure, keyword bidding records, and ranking logic, the click data is not forensically complete or contextually sound. Okay. Omni-channel tracking and multi-device activity. Amazon synchronizes user activity across multiple devices and platforms. Activity from a phone, laptop, smart TV, tablet, or even third-party apps is integrated into a single behavioral profile. And that's just with one person. Now imagine 4 people. This cross-device tracking influences what products are shown, which ads are delivered, and how recommendations are prioritized. If the data provided does not include metadata or logs from multiple devices used by the user or distinguish between them, then the resulting data set is necessarily incomplete. sponsored ads, AI recommendations, and clickstream retargeting. Amazon's search results and product recommendations are driven by 1. Sponsored advertising paid for by brands and sellers. 2. Frequently bought together and customers also bought placements. 3. AI-generated product suggestions based on past behavior and similarity clustering. 4. Retargeting campaigns based on prior engagement both on and off Amazon.
And this is off the whole family. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if the pads that his sister bought, like they're trying to use the pads against Brian Koberger, like because his sister bought pads. Oh my gosh, these specific pads of the victim showed up on his Amazon list. He's a sicko.
Oh my God. They'll find anything though.
It's dangerous when you don't even click on it and they're calling it clicked. Yikes!
Yeah, or a family member of yours didn't even click on it.
Yikes!
Yeah.
Yikes! Yikes! You didn't even click on it. Oh, this is wild.
I know.
It's all wild.
Amazon's ad platform operates on a pay-per-click PPC and commission basis. This structure requires Amazon to retain click and ad attribution data for billing purposes. If advertisers are billed for these interactions, logs of them must exist. The absence of this data in the state's production indicates it is incomplete. Everything okay?
Oh, sorry, I cut out there for a second. My bad.
Okay.
Is everything okay? Hold on a second.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Something. It did it again. Uh-oh. No. Just give me one moment here. Let me just, okay, I think we're back to normal now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay. It is not technically possible for Amazon to function as a PPC platform without storing the data necessary to verify ad delivery and performance. Therefore, I assert that Amazon retains more data related to this user's behavior than what has been disclosed. Yeah. Shared account usage and session attribution. Amazon accounts are often used by multiple individuals in a household. Search, click, and purchase histories are generated by numerous users across multiple devices. Without clear device IDs or session segmentation, it is not possible to attribute activity to a specific person with forensic certainty.
Exactly. And is it going to show it? Heather's got a good comment here, right here. Literally, Brian has a degree in cloud-based forensics. There is no way he would leave a digital breadcrumb path that leads to him or his family. Exactly, and that's one of the reasons why I did the PCA route, to show people there is no way in hell somebody that's going to commit this crime, if they're coming from Steptoe Apartments, they're not driving through downtown Pullman and all over downtown Moscow where there's a crap ton of frickin' cameras. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're not.
No, there's no way.
Same thing with the digital, that's the same thing, the digital breadcrumbs. Really? If you're committing the crime, driving around like this is why I've always said Joe Dirt before the crime scene, Batman in the crime scene, Joe Dirt out after the crime is done, Joe Dirt again. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And this is so scary with this Amazon stuff. Because you could hear the words, yes, the click activity on Amazon showed that Mr. Koberger was done, but you're reading this right here. It's not possible to attribute activity to a specific person with forensic certainty. So the booms and the bams, it's like, are you put your ego aside? Are you reading the words that are on the damn piece of paper? No, for real though.
Most people don't read it. Like,
because what if this was your brother, or your sister, or your mom, or your dad? Take the names out of it. Put whatever crime you put. Stealing Captain Crunch, oops, all berries. Whatever. When stuff is being used like this, well, they were about to purchase Captain Crunch's oops, all berries on Amazon. What? You gotta. I know people's ego that they gotta be like so right. Listen, it's just like with any of these other cases. It's not one side or the other. It's about truth and justice, no matter who the frickin' name is, or So if dude did it, if we're in trial and dude is proven to have done it, yeah, dude should be in frickin' prison. But damn, what if he didn't? Like, I know this stuff looks a certain way, but when you're reading these documents and you're seeing exactly what is there when it comes to the key words, it's like I said, anybody can be a Picasso and do a painting. It's what's in the paint that they're using that makes a difference. Because look, you can have a painting and it looks beautiful the day you just got done, and then you take it home and a year later it's all cracking and falling apart. But it could also be a painting that's used with really good oils, and that painting will last centuries. Like, it depends on what it's made out of, not what's on the surface. It's scary.
Historical data and narrow time frame. The database produced appears to begin in March 2022 and end in November 2022. Amazon's AI systems use historical behavior to inform present-day recommendations and search results. Recommendations shown in November may have been shaped by user activity months or even years prior. By cutting off earlier data, the system's output becomes decontextualized and misleading. And that's one of the main reasons why I don't think that he was necessarily looking to buy another one if he had bought one, or if somebody in his house had bought one. It could have been that, literally could have been that reminder from something he'd looked at ages ago.
It could have been. It also could have been just like the reason why I brought up in the very beginning how you're looking at the placement of the sheath, you're looking at probabilities, percentages. Would a person that's going to commit this crime be carrying the sheath in one hand? No. Would this person be needing the sheath for any reason inside when they plan on using the weapon? No. Is the percentage where the sheath was left tucked underneath covers, underneath Maddie, and Kaylee over Maddie? Is the probability that it was probably the victims for their own? Yes. Because if it would have dropped when the attack started, the attack continues back up into that corner. That's how your sheath gets covered up, because of the movement from the bodies being pushed back over and over and over as the crime's taking place. So it could, like I said back then, okay, well, that's definitely could be a possibility based on where the sheath is at. So then you have to think, well, maybe it was a pawned item. maybe somebody, you know, look at how skinny and malnourished he looked for the selfie the day of the crime. Like I said back then, the dude, listen, how many college students are rolling in freaking dough and can, you know, a lot of college students are struggling, barely getting by. And I could see somebody being short one week and needing money for groceries or something. And it's like, hey, I'll just pawn this off and I'll get it later on. And it could have been one of those things where it's like, yeah, I pawned it off, you know, back then, and I'm going home for Thanksgiving. Who knows? Maybe he was getting some kind of small care package from his family, and it included some gift cards or something. I don't know, but you could, hey, you know, maybe I got, you know, maybe work picked up, and I got, you know, I'm not out of money for this or that, and I have a little extra. I'm going to look again, but that doesn't even mean that he was necessarily clicking on it. Or looking on it. It could have been anybody. Definitely could have been anybody.
Yeah, it could be a number of things, it seems.
A number of different people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Conclusion and assertion regarding data completeness. Based on Amazon's own public-facing documentation, its advertising platform structure, and my extensive professional experience, it is my expert opinion that 1. The dataset produced in this case does not constitute the full extent of data Amazon retains on this user. 2. Certifying this dataset as complete is misleading unless clearly limited to a subset Amazon collects and retains for more. 3. No forensic opinion about intent or user behavior can be accurately rendered from this incomplete dataset. Supporting documentation and citations. The following documentation confirms that Amazon collects, tracks, and retains data far beyond basic user search and purchase logs. 1. Amazon Attribution Overview explains how off-platform ads are tracked and linked to Amazon conversions. 2. Amazon Sponsored Products Overview confirms ads appear in search results and rely on click and conversion tracking. 3. Amazon's personalization and AI recommendation demonstrates Amazon's use of AI to customize product visibility. 4. Amazon retargeting and cross-channel behavior details how Amazon serves ads based on user activity across devices and platforms. AWS Machine Learning blog, technical breakdown of how Amazon uses ML to rank search results and drive behavior. These sources listed in above validate the statements made in this declaration regarding Amazon's behavioral tracking, ad targeting, recommendation systems, and retention practices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what takes place with that one, you know. When you're seeing all these people, he's cooked, he's toast, and it's just like, are you reading the documents? It's a lot of ego. Unfortunately. People don't want to be wrong, and that's the thing. It's a side. It's one side or the other, and it's not about a side. I don't care. Listen, I would rather be wrong about a person committing a crime than right about the person that got convicted, you know, like it doesn't matter. You just really got to. This is why I hope that they allow independent journalists, and I hope that I would be able to report from the trial, because when it comes to this stuff, it's not going to be any kind of narrative pushing one way or the other. It's only going to be about the truth and justice for the victims, families, and communities, regardless of whoever, whatever, and how it, you know, it doesn't matter. What matters is the truth, number one. other people can dig through it after that. But when you're seeing these people out there, especially the boomers and everything, it's just like, what are these people reading? Like this right here tells you this should show you this document right here. This document should show you how scary it is when it comes to click data now. Because if this can be used, like when it could have been anybody in the family or whoever that had access to it could have used it. And then also the fact that it doesn't even have to be clicked on in order for it to be used. Those are very dangerous waters. Man, it's really scary when you think about it. Heather Fitzgerald, please 351 new contact be saved is well, you know what, Heather? I was going to go into it last night in my show. Like I said, I have more to discuss on the Eric G DM disconnection that we discussed already, and I'm going to have to save it for until the weekend. But trust me, I got a lot more to talk about that disconnection. There's just a bunch of docs that dropped in. And we got to dig through those first before I even get to that Eric G. So I'll just say I have a feeling that contact was the person that didn't want to act like they knew that person. When you're trying to distance yourself from a person, listen, he told you the statements and the events of the night that I dropped the girls off and I did this and this and this and I didn't say nothing after that. There's a reason why you didn't say nothing after that. And there's a reason why your buddies up there are trying to save you too by not allowing certain parts of text messages to come out because they know. And you probably know about stuff on them, and so they got to protect you, so you protect them because it's a buddy system up there. All right, so is there anything more you want to discuss on that one, or did you want to switch to the next one? Very dangerous for the future.
Yeah. No, I think this one really does speak for itself a lot. It's just, I thought it was an important one to get across because it is, like you say, it's pretty scary. It's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, and that's right. Back when we were talking about that a little bit ago, we were talking, like Rosie over there, she never even has to deal with it. But yeah, the phones listen to everything. They definitely listen to everything and suggest things for you. And when that's included in click data evidence, that's some dangerous shit. Very dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, it happens here that if you look something up on your phone, then you'll get advertising for it. But that's the extent of it as far as I know. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me see here. What would you like to go over? Let me see. We did Amazon. Let me see. The vague and undisclosed. Yeah, which one do you want to do?
There was one that I was looking for, but I'm just trying to remind myself which one it was, because there was one where they mentioned the night that he was arrested, and then they said that he was making small talk with one of the officers on the way home. Not on the way home, on the way from his home to where he was being held. And there was some interesting stuff in that. I think that it was the one on neuropsychological and psychiatric evidence, but I just want to double check. Because what was in there I thought was really interesting, because they were saying that even after he had been arrested by these people, he was still making small talk with them. He even made a comment to one of them that they should get coffee sometime. And I thought that that was very, very interesting for the people who want to push this narrative that one of the girls rejected him. Because I feel like that kind of thing shows that he doesn't really have the capacity for a grudge or for wanting to get revenge on things. Because this person is like arresting him and he wants to know about this person's qualifications and he wants to get coffee sometime. So I just thought that that was kind of, I don't know, what do you think?
It's different. What person? I mean, really, what person? What person do you apprehend? And they're like, "Hey, let's get coffee." I mean, I love coffee. I love coffee, and I don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if
Okay, I'm going to be honest. When I do community patrols, there was someone that we arrested who wanted to get ice cream with me, but that was for a different reason. It was not the same thing. Well,
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's homosexual or not. I don't know that, but he supposedly went on dates with females, and so I would just imagine that he wouldn't. Hey, do you want to get some coffee? Is like a flirtatious thing. I think it was more of
So
more of a hey, let's go. You know, do you want to? I don't know, like what. You're in zip ties, bro. Like after maybe he thought once he got down. I mean, they don't just bust into your house like that and like unzip tie you and let you go after that. They apprehend you. They apprehend you like that because there's documentation that allows them to do that. Yeah, like friends, like, hey, you know, once we get down there and you interview me before we go through cell phone data and all this other stuff, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But unfortunately, I can't really remember which document that was in, but I just thought it was really interesting because a lot of people keep saying that one of the girls rejected him and he was angry about that. And I just don't think that he gets angry like that if that's something he did with the person that arrested him and he's like that relaxed. I don't know.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, like he doesn't.
Yeah, because normally you're not going to be like, hey, you know, to the person that just did that, you're probably going to be angry and agitated and upset and
no chat
and anxiety and not even thinking about like having a friendly cup of coffee. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah.
That's why I kept thinking about those claims. You know, a lot of people say it was Maddie and he was obsessed with her and she rejected him and that's why he did it, but it doesn't seem like his character. I mean, if somebody can like zip tie him and he's just like, you know, should get coffee. I don't think he gets like that.
Yeah, that makes okay. I see what you're saying there.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember now. I'll have to go over it after, unless there's another one you want to do.
Yeah, I want to show everybody this real quick. Now, according to 23 and Not Me, customers are having issues deleting their data. So not only oh, this is not good, people. I don't even know if I could trust any of these other companies, honestly. I don't know. Like, dude, how could you? It happened to one. All of these events started from a hack into their system, which exposed people's information and profiles, and they weren't able to recover from that. This is probably going to be, I'm just never mind. I can't say it because I'll probably get in trouble. But listen, history will repeat itself, okay? You're seeing the issues right here. Be careful. There's videos on how to delete it. Please look it up. Delete your stuff. Copy your stuff. Delete it after that. Seriously. Now they're having issues with customers being able to delete their information. This is not good.
No.
All right, so let me see here. Let's go with the autism one here. Give me 1 second. We'll pull that one up. All right, 200%. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it very much. If you're not subscribed to Rosie, please go subscribe to her. She is our guest during this episode as we're going through these documents. And like I said, we're going to be having multiple lives over the next couple days going through all of the documents, and this will be its own. There's so much, and to sit there and zip through them real quick wouldn't be doing you any kind of service, and it wouldn't be doing any kind of service for the community. We need to read these, go through them, discuss them, bring some common sense to them, and then split them up in whatever parts it shows. But I'll have in the timestamps each document that we're going over, so you'll be able to kind of scan over each one. All right, so this is the autism spectrum disorder, the state's response, the reply to the state's response to defendant's motion to strike the death penalty. Now, this was a very interesting one and a very heated one that was discussed. And there's a lot of people asking, well, okay, why was this filed? The fact that, the autism thing came out recently leads some people to believe that he was recently diagnosed. But also at the same time, the motor skills aspect as well. So it's going to be interesting for that one to go over. So I'm going to go ahead and. All right, so that should be. Let me see here. Okay, we'll start from there.
Sure. Okay. Comes now Brian C. Koberger, by and through his attorney of record, and hereby replies to the state's response to defendant's motion to strike death penalty regarding autism spectrum disorder filed on March 17th, 2025. Mr. Koberger relies on his right to be free from...
Sure.
What is he free from? Okay. Cruel and unusual punishment, his right to due process, his right to a fair trial, and his right to counsel, his right to present a defense, his right to a reliable sentencing determination, and other rights safeguarded by the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Sections 1, 2, 6, 7, and 13 of the Idaho State Constitution. Mr. Koberger incorporates herein defendant's response to state's motion in limine regarding neuropsychological and psychiatric evidence filed on March 17, 2025. The response provides neuroimaging showing that ASD has both physical and biological factors. Okay, so the Atkins standard for intellectual disability is much more than low IQ. Atkins versus Virginia 536 US in 2002. Mr. Koberger fits the criteria set forth in Atkins in the following ways: impairment in communication, reasoning, social skills, and understanding the reactions of others. His deficits developed at an early age and continue to present to the present day. ASD is not something one outgrows. Very early in his education, he was treated as a child with special needs, evaluated psychologically, and provided with instructional support. He was observed as rocking in the classroom, inattentive, and had poor fine motor skills. He received reading support, speech therapy, reminders to stay on task, more time for homework, and organizational support.
What are poor fine? What is poor fine?
Poor fine motor skills?
Yeah, poor fine. What is that term? Poor fine.
I think
you know?
Those like intricate things, I could be wrong, but I think it's those intricate details, like where they said he had trouble tying shoelaces. So it's like very delicate detail, I guess.
Poor fine. Oh, so, and then also, if they knew that very early on in his education he was treated as a child with special needs, well, then why is it coming out now, and why wasn't it tested in the beginning, right? Or diagnosed? Or maybe it was and we didn't know about it, but we didn't hear about any of this until recently.
Yeah.
So if this was documented as a child, how come it's like, oh, hey, we just came across this diagnosis?
I don't know, but I think, yeah, the state has been trying to say that it's mild and it hasn't been bothering him for a number of years. And the defense in this document also says that there's a misconception when it comes to people with high IQs, that they actually can be intellectually disabled. So I think that whether he is affected by this is in dispute. I think the state is trying to say it was just something from when he was a kid. That's kind of what they're trying to say. So I'm not sure why it didn't come up. Maybe he had to be retested. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the understanding and the reaction of others would definitely be, do you want to get a coffee after I'm zip tied from a SWAT raid? You know, like you're not recognizing the reading the room.
That's the phrase they use as well. They also say that he has an ability to read the room. So
right. You're not reading the room. Okay. Yeah, it was just the poor fine phrase kind of stuck out to me when I went through it. I was just like, poor fine. I don't understand that.
Yeah, so I think fine motor skills are like, I don't know, it's not like the basics of coordination, but it's like tying your shoelaces and stuff like that, as far as I know.
Yeah. Clumsy pencil grip, difficulty drawing shapes or forming letters, slower, messy handwriting, fatigue during fine motor tasks, difficulty with tasks like cutting, tying shoelaces, or buttoning clothes. Oh, okay. Interesting. Thank you, Caddy. That's interesting. Where did I interrupt you?
No, you did. Okay, he received reading support, speech therapy, reminders to stay on tasks, more time for homework, and organizational support. He lacked social emotional reciprocity and had few friends. He did not understand nonverbal communicative behaviors used for social interaction and had an inability to develop, maintain, and understand relationships. The state seeks death when Mr. Koberger is a person with an intellectual and neurodivergent physical disability. Like people with intellectual disabilities, Mr. Koberger's adaptive functioning is impaired. He lacks the skills to function in the real world of daily living, self-care, socialization, and communication. People with an IQ above 70 can still qualify as intellectually disabled due to diminished adaptive function.
Interesting.
The DSM clearly states that intelligence is not a hedge against severe deficits in social functioning. Even those with average or high intelligence have an uneven profile of abilities. The gap between intellectual and adaptive functional skills is often large. The state is misguided in its argument that Mr. Koberger has the least severe form of ASD, in support of its position that his disability is not Atkins or Roper qualifying. That's just a reference. Okay. The court dispelled the misconception among lay people that high functioning or mild autism, terms used by researchers to denote individuals with average intelligence and communication skills, does not result in severe impairments. The court specifically rejected the contention that the defendant's ASD is mild because he has a high IQ, had attended college, and could drive a car. And then there's a quote. Thank you. But despite his high IQ, the court stated, Haseth is severely impaired and in many areas functions at the level of an 8-year-old. The court considered evidence and demonstrated that the defendant struggled with daily living skills and socialization, despite his high intelligence. Intelligence is not a hedge against severe impairment of adaptive functional ability, the court stated. Another example of the inappropriate reliance of a court on the term mild is from the Fourth Circuit in United States versus Zuck. The trial court sentence was overturned on appeal and remanded largely because of Mr. Zuck's autism being described in the record as mild autism and the correlated failure to do adaptive testing, which would have illustrated the true degree to which Mr. Zuck was impaired in relevant ways. The state relies on cases that do not address the facts in this case. It cites U.S. versus Roof, which does not stand for the proposition that ASD is not included as falling under Atkins. In Roof, the court focused only on IQ, as there was no full development of an intellectual disability. The state's reliance on Dunlop and Pizzuto are equally misplaced, as the issues related to mental disability were different. In Pizzuto, the court hinged its decision on a lack of data before the age of 18, and there was no claim of ASD. In Dunlop, the argument focused on mental illness, and ASD was not a claim. Atkins stated 3 reasons why, in that case, capital punishment was inappropriate. Lesser culpability does not merit death. The death penalty does not act as a deterrent for the intellectually disabled, and impairments of the intellectually disabled can jeopardize the fairness of their proceedings. The same factors apply in Mr. Koberger's case. So lesser culpability. Mr. Koberger has all times asserted his innocence. Should he be convicted of this crime, his neurological physical disorder may very well be the reason the jury misjudges him. The public sentiment of prejudice against him and the prejudgment of guilt resulted in a change of venue. Media coverage continues to be negative, with an overall continued narrative claiming his guilt. The reality is that, in fact, in a category of persons who are less The reality is, in fact, that he is in a category of persons who are less culpable. It is widely recognized that autism does affect culpability, moral reasoning, and the ability to foresee consequences of social interaction and processes. People with ASD face a childhood of victimization by their typically developing peers because they are misunderstood. Inevitably, misunderstanding is going to reprise itself in the courtroom, setting the great disadvantage of the autistic accused facing typically developed jurors.
Yeah, this one's going to be an interesting one if it's argued. And I'm sure there's a lot of when it comes to the terms and terminology and things like that. There's some parts in this where it does get a little confusing just because we're not medical
Yeah.
professionals. Um,
Yeah.
there is a lot to it. Let me see here. So we're almost to the death penalty part here in a second. Yes.
Okay. Autism is a neurodevelopmental disability involving the brain. It is characterized by the presence of narrow, repetitive behavior and differences and difficulties in social interaction, communication, and adjusting to change. A person suffering from ASD is neurologically impaired and in his ability to appreciate the unacceptability of his conduct or to intuit why this conduct is unacceptable. Because of his difficulty observing social norms, an ASD individual may engage in socially disapproved or unacceptable behavior with no consciousness of wrongdoing or a real sense of how his behavior is viewed by others. But the same factors bearing on the juvenile's mental development and appreciation of his wrongdoings are present in the case of a defendant with ASD. Shore, like others with ASD, shares the same characteristics with juveniles, whom the Supreme Court has found are constitutionally different from adults for purposes of sentencing. These include immaturity, impulsivity, and failure to appreciate the risks and consequences of their actions. The same analysis applies here. Death penalty as deterrent. It is well known that the death penalty is no It is well known that the death penalty is no deterrent at all. That is the reason that many states have eliminated it. It is not a deterrent for anyone. Moreover, the state argues that the death penalty does not act as a deterrent for the intellectually disabled because they cannot process the possibility of execution as a penalty, and declares that this does not apply in the case of autism. To the contrary, autism is often conceptualized as an executive functioning disorder. Part of the executive functioning is the ability to foresee consequences and adjusting behavior to optimize one's course of action to obtain beneficial and avoid negative consequences. Mr. Koberger suffers from executive function deficiencies such as disorganization and the inability to plan ahead, which is why he buys his weapons in March. Impairment of intellectually disabled. Mr. Koberger does have a diminished ability to understand and process information, to learn from experience, to engage in logical reasoning or control impulses. As explained in the expert reports, he has poor working memory, engages in repetitive behaviors, and poor impulse control. His neurological divergence is supported in neuroimaging. Persons with ASD make poor witnesses. Research shows that if the jury is not informed of the defendant's diagnosis of ASD, the impact of negative impressions of demeanor may have a detrimental implication for the defendant with ASD. Perlin and Cucolo emphasize the need for protections in these areas because operation of autistic traits. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I lost my whole sentence there.
Let me see here. Right here. Let me see here. There we go.
Okay.
Sorry.
makes it much more difficult for individuals with ASD in the criminal justice system, especially when their fate is to be decided by jurors who may either have no familiarity with autism or whose familiarity is based on a television stereotype, who is regularly consider demeanor evidence and their idiosyncratic perceptions of how demeanor can be translated into remorse, empathy, motive, and more in I don't understand that. Okay.
Yeah.
And more in evaluating a witness's credibility.
Yeah. So their actions can look suspicious to somebody that doesn't understand it, but if somebody understands it, then they understand that it's a normal reaction. So yeah, it can be translated in different ways to people that are just don't have any familiarity or are basing their familiarity off of social media.
Okay. Mr. Koberger's ASD makes a fair and just trial a challenge. The state argues news coverage is not informative on this topic. The state benefits from the biased news media. They do. Public sentiment is that Mr. Koberger's physical presentation makes him look guilty through no fault of his own. His flat affect, intense gaze, awkward body posture, holding still in the courtroom, inability to react and process what is happening in the courtroom, and inability to show emotion could cause enough juror bias to convict him. Without a doubt, his ability to testify in trial and the decision to testify would be nearly impossible for Mr. Koberger. He has no ability to perceive what it will feel like and whether he should in fact testify. His inability to read the room, he said, understand the threat that cross-examination will present, or explain himself in socially acceptable ways without prosody of speech presents insurmountable hurdles for him. The state picked fragments of sentences in the expert reports to support its position that Mr. Koberger does not present with ASD challenges. In doing so, the state could not be more wrong in comparing Mr. Koberger's ability to testify in a courtroom to the average person. He suffers from multiple vulnerabilities, impacting first deciding whether or not to testify, and then completely testifying, with no ability to eliminate the physical conditions that exist within his body due to his neurodivergence. He fits exactly with the Atkins typical poor witness. The failure of the police or court to consider the extent to which the appearance of the accused is accounted for by his autism has resulted in reversals on pure evidentiary sufficiency grounds. United States versus Cottrell. Reversal for failure to consider evidence of Asperger's condition in determining the specific intent required for conviction. Okay. Finally, the state argues that Mr. Koberger is competent, and for that reason, Atkins does not apply. Competence is constantly being assessed, and the reason Dr. Ryan's report refers to the issue is because his ASD impacts his ability to assist counsel and understand the proceedings he faces. He has an inability to assist with mitigation evidence and understand the magnitude of his case. By way of example, when he was arrested in his home with a full SWAT team, doors broken, and parents zip-tied, he made small talk with the detective in the back of the car during the ride to the police station. He asked the officer about his education and suggested they get coffee at a later date. He did not perceive the profoundly serious nature of the moment and exhibited no perception of what was happening. While competency has not been raised in this case, at this time, Mr. Koberger's team and assisting experts are constantly analyzing this issue.
Yeah. And that was so when it comes to the coffee moment, not even recognizing the severity of the situation. Like they said, they arrested in his home, full SWAT team, doors busted open, parents zip tied. I'm sure there was a lot of screaming and and yelling and crying and just chaos. And it's just like somebody came and picked you up for ice cream,
Right.
so to speak, Rosie. Let me see here. Okay. All right. So this is the conclusion.
So what comes after this is a lot of case law. Like they just give the majority of this document after here is details about the other cases that they mentioned. So it's not
referring to, just to show the court, this has been ruled before. This is how they ruled it. Yeah, there's a lot. And here, I'll drop the links for these if you don't have them. Is it going to work? Hold on. So here's this link. And let me get the other ones that we discussed already as well. Here's the Amazon link for that court document. And also, here's the Bushy Eyebrow. And then here's the Bushy Eyebrow. Hopefully they fit. These links are kind of lengthy, so I always get nervous. Hopefully that one fits all the way too. Yep, there you go. So there's all the documents that we have covered already. Now, let me see here. All right. And then let me see here. So then the other one that you had was the vague and undisclosed experts.
Yeah, that one was kind of interesting, although I didn't really understand a lot of the cell phone stuff that they mentioned in it because I'm just not good with that. But there was like one or two lines on toxicology that I thought was kind of interesting in the list that they attached.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Give me 1 second. And I'm going to play this while I get this document ready. This is a video. Again, how to delete your 23andMe. Okay, very important.
Another story we're going to talk about today is 23andMe. They announced they're filing for bankruptcy. That is raising a lot of concerns about data protection, and you learned a little bit more about what people's rights are in this case.
We did, Tom. Colorado actually has a specific law on the books that protects your data, the Colorado Privacy Act. It requires any company that collects data on consumers to allow those consumers to have the ability to have their data deleted, similar to a law in California where 23andMe is based. And the Attorney General there is urging people to delete their data from 23andMe, even offered instructions on how to do so. So you log into your 23andMe account, click on settings under your profile there. You scroll to the section called 23andMe data, click view. At that point, you can download your own data if you want to hold on to it yourself. Then you scroll to the delete data, click that, click permanently delete data. Then you'll get an email from 23andMe with a link to finalize all this. And once.
All right, so I'm going to leave that up there for a second just to allow everybody screenshot it. Here, let me move it down a little bit. Log into 23andMe account, not 23andNotMe, 23andMe account. Go to settings, then go to 23andMe data, then go to the optional download your own data. I would suggest you do it. You already did it. You might as well download it and copy it. And then also, after you do that, click permanently delete data, and then you'll get a finalized email from 23andMe. But as of right now, there's reports that customers are having issues with their 23andMe being able to be deleted. All right, so I wanted to share that real quick, and we'll get into this. Okay, so this is the vague and undisclosed expert testimony. Okay. And then what were you saying about what were you saying about this document a second ago?
I was saying that I didn't really understand a lot of the stuff they were saying about cell phones and their expert balance and all of that. But there was like one or two lines that I noticed about some of the toxicology stuff that I thought was interesting. Mainly just that I think that there was confirmation from this that Maddie was, I think, the only one who didn't really fight back. She was too intoxicated or something like that. So I was also querying, because we've heard about evidence from her fingernail clippings, and I was wondering if you think that the fact that she didn't fight back would impact that evidence as well, because usually that kind of evidence also comes from that struggle. So I was wondering what that meant. And then there was, I noticed that one of the experts dealt with the toxicology for 3 of the victims, but it excluded Maddie. So I don't know if she had a separate analysis done or something. I'm not sure what that means. And then there was also mention of substances, and I couldn't tell if the document was saying that there was substances in the toxicology or that they were saying if there had been, but they used the word, so I thought that was...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make you, because it kind of like when I did my theories in the role play back then, when I talked about the K-bar being in Kaylee's hand and the sheath being in her hand too, I had played the theory like Maddie couldn't get woke up, and that's why there was the calls to Jack, not from the different phones at the same time, but from one phone and then the other phone. It wasn't together; it was separate, and then also you look at how the victims were. Kaylee was halfway laying on Maddie, and Maddie was in the same position. So yeah, when it comes to the DNA under the nails, regardless if they fight back or not, or there's signs of them fighting back or not, you still need to test them, because you have to exclude. And so you look at the night of the grub truck, and there was a lot of fuck you and a lot. Who knows? Maybe there was some kind of physical activity earlier, and because yes, the reason that they bag the hands is because a lot of the evidence will get trapped under the nails, and a lot of the evidence that gets trapped under the nails during a physical interaction, and that's how it gets there. So it makes you wonder, like, okay, I don't think that she would, but at the same time, just because somebody doesn't have the signs of an extended struggle for a period of time doesn't mean that she didn't wake up when the first couple went in her and she tried to grab at the person that was doing that, and she got the DNA that way, even though there wasn't, because I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. I don't care how intoxicated you are. As soon as you feel a couple of those, your body is going. It's the adrenaline that is going to take over for those moments, and so it definitely could, but it still could have been from from that crime scene, or the person who did it.
Yeah.
Let me see here. So do you want me to start up here or down at that one? Let me see. Undisclosed. Start right here.
Okay.
There we go.
Latah County began prosecuting Mr. Koberger in December of 2022. Discovery was filtered to Mr. Koberger in a slow, disorganized, and tedious fashion. The state had the benefit of 6 weeks, access to the scene, law enforcement and experts analyzing the scene, experts ready and available to assist with search warrants and expert advice. Hundreds of law enforcement officers assisted in the case. Access to the investigating with the assisting law enforcement and experts meant that prosecutors did not have to filter through 68 terabytes of information to be sure the right information was at the fingertips of the expert. The reality and gravity of 68 terabytes of information cannot be overstated. Mr. Koberger's capital defense team has spent over 2 years devouring as much of the data as possible. The team has not completed the review. His team does not have hundreds of people to locate and talk about various pieces of information contained in the discovery. The state does. Mr. Koberger is protected by the U.S. Constitution and the Constitution of Idaho. He has the right to a fair trial, to have effective assistance of counsel, to confront evidence against him. He has the right to not be convicted unless the state proves its case beyond a reasonable doubt. The state bears the burden of proof. The state has ethical duties under the Constitution. Criminal and evidentiary rules and orders of the court to disclose expert opinion and what it would rely on in its case against Mr. Koberger. Instead, the state provided vague, loose topic area responses for the experts they had worked closely with. The same experts have been working with the state since the beginning of the case. The state's disclosures were, for the most part, abysmal. Still, as it relates to 67 electronic devices and third-party warrant returns, the state has not disclosed any expert opinions or disclosures of what it intends to rely on. The state's disclosures can only be described as sandbagging.
There's another word. There's another word. Sandbagging. Cherry picking.
Laundry list.
Laundry list.
In many cases, it appears that the state's initial disclosures resemble a laundry list of topics, and then once Mr. Koberger complied with the court's order, the state took advantage of learning a great deal about Mr. Koberger's experts and evidence, and tailored new disclosures to address Mr. Koberger's experts. These are not rebuttal disclosures. They are the state's case in chief. Numerous examples are laid out in detail in Exhibit 1. One example of the state's Amazon expert, Cox. A second and more extreme example is FBI essay about balance. Many of these experts' disclosures are based on evidence and data that has still not been disclosed to Mr. Koberger. This is particularly true of Special Agent Balance, whose ever-changing reports and opinions are based on material that has not been provided to Mr. Koberger. To assist the court, Mr. Koberger appends Exhibit 1 to this motion as a guide to the chronology of disclosures and the lack of detail. It identifies each expert and limits of the disclosure. The state cannot be allowed to benefit from what they have done. Mr. Koberger, recognizing what the state was doing, filed a motion to compel disclosures and a motion to extend his deadline. His motion to extend disclosures deadline was denied. During his motion to compel, this court expressed intent to apply the rules of disclosures were not properly made. The state then, with the advantage of Mr. Koberger's expert disclosures, has continued to trickle new opinions to the defense. The state cannot be allowed to benefit at the expense of Mr. Koberger's right to a fair trial, confrontation, due process, and assistance of counsel. The state cannot be allowed to ignore Mr. Koberger's rights, shrink its duty, and get a free pass on the rules. The state must be held to the limits of its timely disclosures.
Mm-hmm. State's expert Cox and Special Agent Balance. We hear a lot about Special Agent Balance.
Mm-hmm. That's in this attachment that they put.
Yeah. All over.
There's more. Okay. So Anderson, who was initially disclosed on 12/18/24, this witness is an expert from NMS Labs that performs testing for substances a deceased has consumed. His work encompassed EC, XK, and KG. Reports are included. No other opinion has been provided. Testimony should be limited to involvement and opinion within the report, which is no more than quantity of substances found in blood.
Right. So why wouldn't do MM? You know?
That's what I was. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense at all. Like, what? I can't even think of a legitimate reason why she wouldn't have been.
Yeah, no. And even if she was by somebody else, why? What's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just that it stuck out to me too. Like, there's like certain things that it's just kind of like not even included or wasn't even checked into or wasn't even further taken up. There's just a lot of the weirdness, yeah, there's no reason whatsoever. The same work should have been done to all the victims. It'll be interesting to hear why maybe they didn't. I would like to know why, because I think it's important. Just because she didn't maybe have any kind of defensive wounds or wasn't or the wounds weren't as bad as the others, that still doesn't mean you don't. It's just like the other DNA under the nails. You don't test it. What? It's just weird.
Yeah. Okay. Ayers. This witness works at Idaho State Police Forensics Lab. She was on scene at 1122 King on November 17th.
I'm going to pause it real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but can we please stop about BK's sister? The BK sister thing has already been dug into, like the first couple months after he's been arrested. Please be respectful. I don't care who you are. This is about being respectful here. Let's have a little more if we're going to be like throwing accusations and statements at specific people. The whole his sister is very minimal. If you really know your information, the sister is very minimal in all of this. This is stuff that has been 2 years that it's been discussed, and to go on and on and on and on and on about it, that's not being respectful. So please, if you need to take a break, take a break. Or if you want me to make you take a break, I can do that too. But I would, if come on now. Let's be about what we're preaching here. All right. Sorry, Rosie. Go ahead.
No problem. Okay,
It's
so she was on
ridiculous.
scene. I know. She was on scene on
Kids.
17 November. Okay, she has continued to work at ISP Forensics since. She has been accessible to the state beginning 4 days after the incident and forward. She was initially disclosed on 12/18/24. Okay, topic areas. Heirs can be expected to testify as to the search and collection of evidence, such as presumptive blood testing, the collection of buccal swabs, swabbing for potential DNA evidence, collection of hair samples and/or latent prints. Heirs may also discuss the process of photographing crime scenes. Additionally, heirs may discuss lab protocols and procedures, including the disposition of evidence. Lab Report 25 was disclosed as her expert opinion. Rebuttal disclosure was on 2/17/25. She actively participated in using the LizQ imaging system. Marking bloodstains, reviewing evidence, discussing which evidence may or may not be relevant to the crime, liaising with detectives on the case, and working with...
Oh, sorry about that.
And working with other entities to support the needs of the investigation. Much of this disclosure describes what can be done and what a crime scene team does. These descriptions of what was done are included, but the disclosure does not clearly state what she did or what her opinion is. So they just gave general information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Additional disclosures were on 3/3/25. This disclosure starts with general scene processing before another topic area is disclosed. Heirs will testify about DNA. Deoxyribose nucleic acid is genetic material contained in human cells that may be utilized for human identification. DNA may be present on an item in the form of biological materials such as blood, semen, and saliva, or may be left on an item when it is handled, such as touch DNA. Biological evidence and possible potential DNA evidence is collected for preservation and may be sent for further testing by qualified DNA analysts. Crime scene personnel do not test or screen for DNA specifically. The disclosure continues describing processing and testing. The state does not disclose any opinions she may have about what was done or why. The state does not provide any opinions related to her knowledge of DNA in this case or touch DNA. The state has not made any expert disclosures other than the Lab Report 25. The court must limit Ayer's testimony to her qualifying background and her work and opinion as stated in Report 25 attached. Okay. Balance. Special Agent Balance. Whoa, sorry.
Sorry. I just
You're right there.
this dude is gonna be all over the trial. He is in other people's mouths, all over the trial. Go ahead. It just takes me back to those court hearings. I don't recall, and how we were, Special Agent Balance. We were in the same room. Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Special Agent Balance, when you say Balance is an FBI agent specializing in cell site location information and a member of the Cellular Analysis and Survey Team, or CAST. He's worked alongside Moscow police detectives. He was co-located in Moscow. What does co-located mean? He assisted in search warrant applications and was communicating with the state and detectives at least as early as November 15, 2022. He assisted the state in securing digit information, analyzing information, as well as conducting interviews as part of the investigation.
So
The
maybe he moved. Maybe he was there for a couple weeks, went back home for a couple days, went there for a couple weeks. Also, they did have some other investigations that they were doing around that time, and it could have been right across the border. So it could have been, going from one trailer headquarters to the other trailer headquarters.
Expert disclosure was on 12/18/24. The initial disclosure stated he would testify about how cell towers work and interact with cell phones. His testimony would include what records related to personal cell phones are available and how they are used. Special Agent Balance will testify consistent with the historical cellular phone data provided to the defendant in discovery. Special Agent Balance will explain the methodology used to create his report, which is attached here to as Exhibit S2B. Special Agent Balance will discuss how call detail records provided by AT&T were used to create cell site maps contained in his report, including his corroboration of the mapping with the records provided. Special Agent Balance will also explain in detail what the mapping in his report reflects. It is noteworthy that the state has never disclosed Special Agent Balance's methodology used to create his report. He has never disclosed how his maps were created. Special Agent has omitted over 90% of the AT&T data during the relevant times he chose to map. There is no disclosure as to why this data was omitted. And that's in bold.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're letting you know. Like, plausible deniability. That's the new T-shirt that they're going to be making. Plausible deniability. We didn't know nothing about nothing. Sorry, Rosie.
How could we? Yeah. Okay.
We don't know nothing about nothing. Just the tip.
Special Agent Balance will provide his opinion as to the general locations in which the target cellular telephones were located at various times before and after the unalivings at 1122 King Road, and the cellular phone's direction of travel. More than one phone? Okay. The testimony will... You seeing that too?
Yeah.
Yeah. The testimony will rely on information furnished by cellular phone providers concerning which cell towers the cellular telephones connected with during those times. Special Agent Balance may also testify regarding which cellular tower sectors were utilized for the relevant data and explain the direction of the cellular tower sector utilized can indicate the general location of the cell phone relative to the tower utilized.
No. They are saying there's multiple cell phones. That's multiple cell phones. Look, it
looks like it.
There's plural for these phones. Which cell towers the cellular telephones connected? So they're saying that there was 2 phones? But
at least 2 phones, yeah.
They've only
more than one.
But they've only talked about one. He shut his phone off at 2:46 or 2:48. He shut his phone off. It's always been one phone.
Yeah. This is definitely saying more than one.
Provide locations in which the target cellular telephones were located. So more than one cell phone was located. And the cellular phone's direction of travel, the testimony will rely, yada, yada, yada. Which cell towers the cellular telephones connected? They're saying right here that telephones connected, and the general locations in which the target cellular telephones were located. They've admitted 2 times.
More than 2.
may testify. Wow.
Yeah.
I think there's so there's got to be two phones.
Looks like it, yeah.
But so wouldn't they have said he shut his phone off at this time and then he shut his phone off at this time? That's so. Let me see here. Sorry, it just I don't know. It's weird to me. It's weird to me.
It is weird. I also saw that. I just wasn't sure if they were speaking generally, but they're definitely not, because when they're speaking about the case, it's plural.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. But they're stating plural phones being located and connected.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
it is.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. Okay. The state has never produced an actual opinion by Special Agent Balance about the general location Mr. Koberger's cellular telephone was at various times before and after the crimes at 1122 King Road, and the cellular phone or phone's direction of travel. Or no, sorry, it's possession, not plural. Okay. 217.25 rebuttal disclosure. The state responds to defense disclosures, but in doing so, it continues to refuse to provide expert analysis and opinion. The FBI Cellular Analyst Survey Team conducts drive testing using a Gladiator autonomous receiver developed by Gladiator Forensics. The GAR collects the data, which is then analyzed by Gladiator Forensics software. The software creates the coverage maps seen on several pages of the report. The coverage maps are created using the actual measurements taken by the GAR and interpolation using the natural neighbor algorithm. The disclosure does not state who produced the maps or how they were analyzed. The disclosure lacks an opinion about the mapping program or its production. The state has not disclosed records that verify the mapping program, nor has it stated Balance is an expert in mapping. Special Agent Balance went to great lengths to obtain more drive data in this case. Despite those efforts, he has only produced the mapping of that data for less than 5% of the relevant cell sites in his work product. There have been no disclosures as to why he has omitted 95% of the relevant coverage maps.
They're gaslighting. Look, we only got 5%, but it's because it's his fault. And we didn't tell you that he's an expert. But what's all this up here? We'll provide his. So he's only done 5%. He's only showing 5%. We told you he's not an expert, but he will provide his opinion as to the general location. So you're gonna give us your opinion of how far this guy was away and where he could have been and all this other stuff. Listen, I can tell you the same thing that Special Agent Balance is going to tell you. There's a tower that services 1122 King Road, and you can be in the southeastern corner of Pullman, Washington, and connect to the damn tower. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert at mapping. I haven't done 95% of that homework that's involved with that kind of data, but I can tell you right now, there's a damn tower, and that's my 5%. There's a damn tower that services 1122 that you can connect to in frickin' Pullman. And that's from cell phone department store. Hey man, I need to know where I'm gonna not have coverage. All right, let's pull up the map and let's check the little hexagon, different colors for different signal strengths and where you don't have signal over here. And it's like, oh, that. Wait a minute, man. Are you saying that this tower right here services this area and I could be in? Yes, sir. Whoa, I never knew that. Yeah. No expert needed. We're going to tell you he's not an expert, but we're going to use him like he's an expert. I don't understand it. So then when you got people coming out with he was 300 feet radius within. Okay. Yeah, let's get an expert. It's Scott Reich said it in the very beginning of this when there was talk about the CAS data, crime talk with Scott Reich, defense attorney. He brought it up in the very beginning. He's like, look, I've gotten one of my clients off because they tried to do the same thing. They tried to say that my client's cell phone put him at the scene of the crime. And because I could argue the data with him and say, can you tell me that my client wasn't 35 blocks away? No, we can't. Look, I can't wait to hear Special Agent Balance. Oh, boys. If he even, we'll see if he even, because it's the state. The state.
The state.
The state. We didn't tell you, and it's not our fault. Look at this. Like, it's that they have, dude, the state has set this up. They have so many scapegoats. It's amazing. They're crafty. They're crafty.
No, they are.
They are. Sorry.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. The disclosure goes on. FBI CAST examines each transaction in the raw records to determine reliability based on several factors. As an example, when an AT&T data session is initiated on AT&T's network that is not following a timeout of a previous data session, AT&T records the first cell site and then the subsequent cell sites associated with the session, if applicable. The state does not disclose Special Agent Balance's review of reliability. The state is creating wiggle room for Balance to testify to something undisclosed at this time. The particular area impacts 7 minutes of time and exculpatory information. This is the 7 minutes between 2:47 and 2:54 a.m. The state applied for search warrants and its arrest warrant claiming Mr. Koberger's phone stopped reporting to the network at 2:47 a.m. The state later had to concede, based on its own discovery disclosures, that the phone went off the network at 2:54 a.m. Between the time of 2:47 and 2:54 a.m., while the phone was on and receiving service, it was utilizing cell towers. The phone was not stationary and utilizing only one tower. The phone was moving during the 7 minutes. During the 7 minutes, the towers handoff service as the phone is moving. These handoffs, once analyzed, locate the direction of movement and the location of the phone when it stops reporting at 2:54 a.m. The state asserts Special Agent Balance mapped this area data but has not produced it.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to these towers, you could literally it bounces. Your phone is constantly going between different towers to try and get you the best signal at every second, every moment. And so, but this is the thing. It depends on terrain too. And when you're talking about terrain out there, there's a lot of different terrain. Your cell phone is going to utilize the tower. Say there's a tower that is 1 mile away. and it's flat ground, and there's a tower that's a half a mile away, and there's a hill in front of it. Your phone, even though that tower that's a half mile away, your phone is going to go towards the tower with the least obstruction, which is the mile away tower. So you could literally be closer to the tower that you're not utilizing because of terrain. It's constantly bouncing between a couple of them to just always make sure that you have a steady connection. It just the phone was on and receiving service. It was utilizing towers, of course, because that's what takes place. It doesn't just utilize only one tower. It will utilize more times than not. It will utilize one tower if you're in a position where you're not moving, because it's already connected to the closest. It barely has to tap. But as soon as you start moving, it's automatically doing that again. So this guy's, I can't wait to hear this testimony. I really can't, because if this is, they got 5% of the work, they don't want to show 95%, and then you're going to have somebody come up and testify that is not an expert and is not even an expert at mapping, and they're going to talk. I mean, it's going to be an argument that I imagine ain't going to go very quick.
Mm-mm.
It ain't going to go very quick.
The state must be required to disclose what it is not saying here. The state must not be allowed to ambush Mr. Koberger at trial by stating something that was not grounded in record. The state goes on to say handoff data is analyzed on page 13 of the CAST PowerPoint. There is no analysis. Special Agent Balance has not mapped a single handoff in the work product produced.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
That's crazy.
These ignored handoffs are the handoffs occurring during the described 7 minutes. Analyzing those depict exculpatory evidence. It is important to understand handoff data makes up more than 85% of the defendant's AT&T network connections. Special Agent Balance's opinion as to why he can omit those connections is one part of his report, while relying on them in others must be clearly stated. Okay. The state does not provide basis or analysis for Special Agent Balance's claim that Mr. Koberger was using a tower that services the King Road address. Instead, they say this: generating a report of all of the defendant's movements from June 2022 to December 2022 would be overly broad, unnecessary, and prolong the jury's service with details not relevant to prosecution. With the help of this very expert, the state sought and received AT&T phone records for Mr. Koberger from June 2022 through December 2022. In affidavits supporting search and arrest, the state averted that Mr. Koberger's phone data depicted numerous occasions where it utilized a tower servicing the King Road address. The state supplied Special Agent Balance as an expert and disclosed his PowerPoint with slides 29 and 30, claiming the same thing. It is noteworthy that the dates of this alleged behavior have been changed over the course of the expert's work. What the state has failed to do is provide the analysis of the claim. Mr. Koberger will face his capital jury without the state backing up the claim. The state does not have connection between Mr. Koberger and anyone that was at 1122 King Road. The state puts this information out to attempt to establish a connection, while the state has chosen not to disclose the analysis Mr. Koberger has disclosed. the analysis. The analysis shows the falsity of the state's expert's slide. The real analysis is exculpatory to Mr. Koberger. This must be excluded from the state's presentation. The state provides its reason. The cost draft and the cost final PowerPoint are different in size. Cost utilizes a peer review process of any work product prior to its being presented at trial. This peer review process is meant to ensure the final report is accurate, provides clarity to raw cellular records, and relevance to the state's case presentation. The state has failed to provide any documentation of its peer review process and opinions as to why changes were made. This disclosure addressing AT&T timing advance records, Mr. Kober respectfully requests the court look into the pleading and affidavit he filed in response to the state's motion on that topic. Supplemental disclosure from 3/3/25. This disclosure advises the court and counsel that Special Agent Balance plans to testify by summary from various AT&T documents and utilize his own created summary as exhibits in place of the actual record. Okay. The state has not supplied such documents unless it is the PowerPoint. If that is the case, these documents are data that are the result of undisclosed analysis and interpretation of the data. The disclosure advises Special Agent Balance will testify as follows. Page 13 depicts cellular phone usage by the 8458 phone on November 13, 2022. And Balance is expected to testify that when the 8458 phone interacted with the AT&T network at 2:47 a.m., the phone was not at the Brian Koberger residence, marked BK on the map. Rather, it was southeast of the Brian Koberger residence as depicted by the drive test data. Balance is also expected to testify that he analyzed additional handoff data that occurred during this data session and that the 8458 phone stopped communicating with the network at 2:54.
So basically he read a report. He read a report and analyzed it and confirmed, yes, the report says this and the report says this and the report says this. It's wow. It's crazy stuff. Yeah. Definitely crazy stuff. And this is what they used in the PCA.
Yeah.
It's what they used in the PCA.
Yeah. I know.
And you got Brett Payne, well, based off of my experience, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Like you thought that all this stuff was like dead to rights. Even the people that are talking about it the last couple of days, it's dead to rights, but I'm sorry. I'm seeing like it's all of it's blowfish. It's these little teeny things that just inflate to make you think that they're bigger than they are, and then after a minute it just deflates. It goes right back to normal. Huge stuff. Sorry.
Yeah. Can you guys still hear me okay? Because it's very stormy. I just want to make sure you can't hear me.
Yeah.
The state has not disclosed an analysis or where Special Agent Balance will claim the phone was located. These are the 7 critical minutes that contain exculpatory evidence. Page 28 shows a map that includes 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, represented by the CS icon and a yellow circle that represents a 100-meter radius around the crime scene. Balance will explain that he conducted analysis of all the cell sites in the area that provided coverage to the crime scene and identified any cell sites that drive test data showed coverage that included this 100-meter radius around the crime scene. The state has not disclosed this analysis. Page 29 and
sorry. He just looked at a picture. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Pages 29 and 30 represent any time that the 8458 phone utilized a cell site identified as part of page 28, between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. 23 separate instances between July 9, 2022 to November 7, 2022. Balance will testify that the 8458 phone used cell sites consistent with being at the crime scene during these dates and times. Balance will further testify that the hours between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. were identified by the investigative team as times of interest. The state has not disclosed its analysis. In its 2/17/25 disclosure, it was these times the state claimed were cumbersome and a waste of time to analyze.
Just like the other DNA.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like all the other people on the Amazon account. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Mr. Koberger provides Exhibit 2, Affidavit of Syre, to support his motion to exclude Special Agent Balance's testimony. This
Right.
witness must be excluded.
Which is why they don't want him.
They do not want him.
No, because he'll bust through all that shit.
Yeah.
Spit facts.
Barnhart, Heather, and Jared. Initial disclosure 12/18/24. The disclosures leave out any analysis and any real opinion about user behavior and actions on a PC and opinions of gaps. Rebuttal disclosure was 2/17/25. The disclosure advised Mr. Koberger his experts needed to do a better disclosure so the state could rebut his expert. Testimony at trial must be limited to what these experts examined and the process used to identify things found as contained in the disclosure. Experts have not provided any opinion about user behavior, only that gaps are abnormal. No further opinion has been provided for Mr. Koberger.
Gaps are abnormal, that's for sure.
Okay, Cox. Initial disclosure was 12/18/24. This disclosure is a list of topics. Supplemental disclosure 3/3/25. This disclosure discloses specific areas of testimony. The discovery comes almost 3 months after the disclosure date and is still lacking critical information. See David Howell affidavit in motion in limine number 9, Amazon click activity. Testimony must be excluded because no real expert opinion has been stated and testimony is based on incomplete information. Okay. Dace and White. Initial disclosure was 12/18/24. This disclosure listed topic areas of STR and YSTR DNA testing and one specific area of the Pennsylvania trash pool and contained in Lab Report 6. The disclosure contained loose language about additional information or other analysts' findings. Rebuttal disclosure was 2/17/25. This disclosure increases her testimony about CODIS and why profiles were not uploaded. The decision and reason to not utilize CODIS for 2 unknown male DNA profiles has now been disclosed for the first time in over 2 years. Despite requests in discovery and other topic arising, this is the first time any reason has been disclosed. The state has taken advantage of knowing Mr. Koberger's timely disclosed work and decided upon a course of action to counter it. This portion of disclosure must not be allowed. Supplemental disclosure was 3/3/25. This disclosure references DNA testing with more information that the initial disclosure. Report 6 was disclosed before the reference to Report 16. Both reports contained her work. Lab Report 16 was referenced in the initial disclosure. Testimony must be limited to describing DNA testing and Lab Report 16. Dawson. Rebuttal disclosure of 2/17/25. This expert was disclosed for the first time in rebuttal disclosures. His area of expertise and proposed testimony that MM was severely impaired by her intoxication and could not fight back is not one that was challenged by experts in Mr. Koberger's disclosures. The timing of this disclosure does not leave Mr. Koberger the opportunity to consider the necessity of meeting this expert analysis. This testimony serves no legitimate purpose other than other than to inflame the passions of the jury. Mr. Koberger has not in any way contested toxicology on MM. This is an improper rebuttal and must be excluded.
See, and that's interesting when it comes to the toxicology of Madison Mogan. Mr. Koberger has not in any way contested toxicology on Madison Mogan. It's just weird. She wasn't. Where's the toxicology for Madison? There should be one. Should have been one done.
Daysher. Initial disclosure was 12/18/24. This expert works for NMS Laboratory. The expert analyzed toxicology for MM. The report was disclosed. Testimony must be limited to the contents of NMS Laboratory toxicology report. But why somebody different?
Right. And why is it not included if there was?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Okay, Douglas. Initial disclosure was 12/18/24. Special Agent Douglas works for the FBI and is a forensic accountant. This disclosure stated the Douglas. The Douglas? Special Agent Douglas.
Yeah. The Douglas.
Stated that the Douglas was intended to testify as a lay witness about the various records collected and data contained therein. The state included the caveat that any expert testimony would be based on his training and experience contained in his CV. 2 FBI reports relating to the records he looked at and identifying specific transactions was included. These reports did not contain opinion about the records listed. Supplemental disclosure was 3/3/25. This disclosure references numerous documents not listed in the previous disclosure. These appear to have been documents he utilized the federal grand jury subpoena process to obtain. His anticipated testimony includes Amazon records. His accounting background is not the same as digital forensics. Amazon platform is explained in Defense Motion 11, Amazon Click, and the affidavit of David Howell. Other than collecting the records, the state has not disclosed the Douglas's credentials to analyze Amazon records. I want to get his name right. No opinion about the record was disclosed.
Right.
The state disclosed that Douglas would testify about spending habits. Other than documenting financial institutions and transaction records, the state has not disclosed this expert's opinion of spending habits. This expert must be limited to the specific bank records or purchases contained in the disclosure. Opinion or what it is based on must be excluded because any opinion this expert has not been disclosed. Okay. Gilbertson. Rebuttal disclosure was 2/17/25. This witness works for Idaho State Police. He worked as an investigator on this case. This disclosure was not properly rebut Mr. Koberger's disclosures. Further, the state has not identified how this witness is an expert in what he claims to be an expert in. Expert testimony and any opinion must be excluded. Hill. Rebuttal disclosure was 2/17/25. This witness is disclosed as a rebuttal witness. The disclosure lists specific clips of vehicles that he will testify about. However, the disclosure goes further to state there are other videos, but does not indicate this witness has an opinion about the vehicles. His testimony must be limited to what has been disclosed. Email. Initial disclosure was 12/18/24 and rebuttal disclosure was 2/17/25. This witness is a special agent in the FBI. His role was to look at video footage supplied to him and attempt to make a model identification of a vehicle captured on footage on King Road. He was supplied various additional clips to make identification. Both disclosures contain opinion and rebuttal to Mr. Koberger's expert opinion. as long as the testimony does not change from that contained in the disclosures or go beyond the disclosures, Mr. Koberger is advised. Mabbott. Initial
Mabbott.
disclosure 18-24.
Mabbott.
This witness is the coroner for Lathrop County. This disclosure contained opinion and reference to previously sworn testimony. As long as the testimony does not change, Mr. Koberger is advised.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Initial disclosure was 12/18/24. This witness works for Idaho State Police Forensic Laboratory. This disclosure contains notice that the witness will talk about the process of DNA work and specifically her work on lab reports 1, 4, 17, and 20. The state used loose language about her testimony not being further limited. Supplemental disclosure was 3/3/25. This disclosure includes her DNA work and process, but adds generally about probabilistic genotyping and what kinds of items contain DNA. This disclosure includes references to CODIS and percentage index. No further opinion other than what is contained in her reports are disclosed. Her testimony must be limited to general topics as stated and her work in the above-mentioned lab reports. Martinez. Initial disclosure 12/18/24. This witness works for Idaho State Police Forensics Laboratory. The disclosure includes general topics such as evidence collection, documentation, photography, evidence disposition, and lab protocol in general terms. This witness...
That's a lot of lab reports. You don't have to name
it.
Okay.
Thanks. All right. Supplemental disclosure 3/3/25. This disclosure includes references to this witness collecting biological data from Mr. Koberger. It also includes a general description of taking and comparing fingerprints as well as available databases for upload. Reference is made to some of the initially disclosed report numbers. There is no further disclosure about the opinions contained in the reports. As long as this witness testifies within the scope of general topics as listed and the specific reports for experts' opinions, Mr. Koberger is advised. Miller. Initial disclosure 12/18/24. This witness works for Idaho State Police Forensics Laboratory. This disclosure referenced specific lab reports 7, 13, 31, 34, 36, and grand jury testimony.
Yeah, like Busby said, lab reports 1 through 41.
This disclosure add reference. It's not that I can't read as well. Okay. This disclosure add reference to various topics without conclusions.
Bless your heart.
Such as you're welcome. I hope I'm doing okay. Such as probabilistic genotyping, human biological material utilized in DNA testing, how to determine how much DNA is present. This disclosure discusses CODIS and the decisions not to put males B or D into the database. The decision and reason not to utilize CODIS for the 2 unknown male DNA profiles has now been disclosed for the first time in over 2 years. Despite requests and discovery and the topic arising, this is the first time any reason has been disclosed. The state has taken advantage of knowing Mr. Koberger's timely disclosed work and decided upon a course of action to counter it. This portion of the disclosure must not be allowed.
B or D, but A and C was just fine.
Maury. Initial disclosure was 12/18/24. This witness is a detective with Moscow Police Department. He began working the case in various capacities since the first day. Okay. He has conducted interviews, assisted in obtaining search warrants, worked on digital data, and worked extensively with Special Agent Balance. This disclosure was a list of 56 devices and other third-party data.
That's a lot.
Supplemental disclosure was 3/3/25. This disclosure states that there are 49 devices and digital data sets that this witness will testify. There is no connection between Mr. Koberger and any of the following individuals: MM, KG, XK, EC, DM, BF, JD, JS, MM, DoorDash, EG, EA, the whole alphabet. Okay, the rest
EG
of this
EG
EG or EA.
EG.
The rest,
Yeah, that guy right there. Sorry.
yeah.
There is no connection between any of those individuals.
Is there nobody? There's no one excluded from there that we know about. So it is everyone. The rest of this witness's testimony will be about the download of other devices. Other than police work conducted by this witness, the testimony must be limited to what has been disclosed. The device and third-party data contained many terabytes of discovery. No specific testimony regarding any device should be allowed. Nord. Initial disclosure 12/18/24. This witness works for Idaho State Police Crime Laboratory. This disclosure refers to Lab Report 18. Supplemental disclosures was 3/3/25. This disclosure refers to the item number 71, which was the item tested in Report 18. This disclosure describes the process and the methods used in testing. As long as testimony is limited to these disclosures, Mr. Koberger is advised.
Okay.
Now, Lou.
That's one thing I didn't have time to look up. What was item 71 on report 18? When it comes to the process and methods used in testing. Item 71 on report 18. I wasn't able to.
I also didn't.
That's one I wasn't able to look up. So we'll go into that in the future when I can look that up for sure. But I didn't have time to look that up. But it has to do with the way it was tested and the processes and methods used.
Okay. Now, Lynn, this objection is contained in motion in limine number 6 and is incorporated by her reference, but will be argued separately. Seats. Initial disclosure 12/18/24. This witness works for Idaho State Police Crime Laboratory. This disclosure referred to Lab Report 3 and listed topics to discuss. Supplemental disclosure was 3/3/25. This disclosure does not list additional lab reports, but contains more detail about the process of DNA work. As long as this witness does not testify outside of these disclosures, Mr. Koberger is advised. Singh. Initial disclosure 12/18/24. This witness is a pathologist that conducted the autopsies in this case. This disclosure contains both opinion and the autopsy report. Rebuttal disclosure 2/17/25. This disclosure contains opinion related to some of the defense expert disclosures. As long as this witness does not testify outside of these disclosure, Mr. Koberger is advised. Mr. Koberger has received a separate disclosure related to Part 2 should the trial reach that stage. Sutton. Initial disclosure 12/18/25. This witness works as an expert in blood splatter. This disclosure contained an expert report. Rebuttal disclosure was 2/17/25. This disclosure noted a promised report. Supplemental disclosure 3/3/25. This disclosure was the report promised on 2/17/25 and has the date of 2/13/25. Mr. Koberger did not notice it until 3/3/25. His concern is of his experts' need to respond. Mr. Koberger needs additional time to make the final determination. The changes to the initial report by Sutton are extensive. Tanzola. Initial disclosure 12/18/24. This witness is a special agent with the FBI. The disclosure noted the expert was an expert in digital forensics. The expert examined 7 items and a report describing the process was included. The disclosure contained no opinion from processing the items. Rebuttal disclosure was 2/17/24. This disclosure advised Mr. Koberger his experts needed to do a better disclosure so the state could rebut his expert. Testimony at trial must be limited to what this expert examined and the process used. No opinion has been provided for Mr. Koberger. Urig. Initial disclosure was 12/18/24. This witness was an examiner with the Post Falls Police Department. The disclosure contained reference to 7 devices and a police report. The disclosure referenced a police report. The report identified the examination and disclosed no connection to Mr. Koberger. Supplemental disclosure 3/14/25. This disclosure states that the witness will testify about his expertise to examine these devices. Additionally, it clarified that no connection with Mr. Koberger was found. No further opinion has been provided. Testimony at trial must be limited to the contents of these 2 disclosures. Walt Hall.
No connection.
Keep hearing that.
Yep.
Initial disclosure 12/18/24. This witness works for Idaho State Police Forensics. This disclosure states that the witness will testify about the latent print processing.
Ooh.
Further opinion was contained in the grand jury testimony and lab reports 2 and 15.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Supplemental disclosure was 3/3/25. This disclosure references the same lab reports but contains great detail about print examination, processing, and uploading for database comparison. No further opinions have been provided. As long as the testimony relates to what has been disclosed, Mr. Koberger is advised. Wilt. Initial disclosure 12/18/24. This disclosure disclosed prior testimony in grand jury lab reports.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of them. All right.
Supplemental disclosure was 3/3/25. This disclosure contained further description of testimony relating to DNA collection and what trace DNA means. No further opinions have been provided. As long as the testimony relates to these disclosures, Mr. Koberger is advised. Youngling. Initial disclosure was 12/18/24. This witness was employed by Idaho State Police Forensics. The disclosures list her testimony as discussing DNA testing in general and reference to lab reports 2, 4, 12, and 21.
Uh-oh. Was employed. Uh-oh. Remember training records? Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Amended disclosures 3/3/25. This disclosure describes various lab processes such as scene processing, fingerprinting, packaging items taken for evidence, DNA testing, trace evidence, and tire impressions. The disclosure is general and not specific to this case. No opinion as it relates to Mr. Koberger is provided. Testimony must be limited to the stated lab reports and general procedures in the lab.
Woo! Training records. That's what it'd be about. Training records. Yes, the vague, undisclosed expert testimony. Very shocking when you're kind of digging into it. It's like, not so much expert. We even told you they weren't an expert, according to the state. This is why, and there's plenty more documents to go through. Shout out to you, Rosie. What a trooper today. This is why when you're going through these documents and you're starting to read them, you're like, man, like,
yeah,
where's the beef? Where's the beef? Just like the 911 call, where's the blood? Where's the beef? A lot of questionable things. I'm kind of glad that we covered those specific documents in this show today, because they all really do kind of go together when it's trying to show you what's being painted here as we go through them. But we'll go ahead and end the show for this afternoon, this morning. We'll have another notification out coming up here after a bit when we figure out exactly what time. Also, if you're able to, tomorrow morning we can go ahead and do some more documents again if you'd like to. I need to look up that item 71 on report 18 and find out what exactly it was. I have a feeling, but I don't. I think it's probably the sheath, but we'll see for sure. I don't know. I don't know. It's something. It's something, but you. I don't know. I don't know how these people are going to be able to argue the CAS data. You hear all these different things about the CAS data, which, yes, it's supposed to triangulation and all these other things. Yes, but you got somebody just. It seems to me like Special Agent Balance was just somebody that looked at reports, and that was it. Just looked at it and were like, "Yep, okay, I see it. Marks it here at this time, and this time." But I can't explain. I mean, how are you supposed to explain this stuff to people that don't even know what's involved in this technology?
Exactly.
Yeah, it did this and it did this. Just trust me. I mean, that's not going to go far. So these whole people that are just like, the dude's cooked. I don't know. I mean, there is some of these documents where you're like, holy crap, this is crazy. This is what do you say? Ironic, or okay, it kind of coincidental.
Yeah.
But then it's like you see some of this. It's like, man, I can't wait to trial. I'm tired of guessing. I'm tired of going this direction and that. It's like, I just can't wait for trial. This is why I hope it's televised, so everybody sees it. You have your own interpretation based off of the information coming from the actual trial and not regurgitated through other avenues. Congratulations, Sea Dog's got a baby on the way. Congratulations, buddy. But yeah, we'll have a notification out here soon for later. You can see us back here tomorrow morning through the early afternoon. I got some other shows coming up this weekend. We got a lot of work, a lot of shows going on, and I'll be getting some more members-only videos for you guys coming out soon. Especially, I'm almost done with that WSU Kim stuff for you guys. That'll be a premiere that we'll be doing when all the time she was on the shows. It'll be a little combo for you guys. So I just want to say thank you all. Please hit the like if you haven't. If you're not subbed up to Rosie, please go sub up to her. We will see you back here tomorrow morning, and we'll have some other guests on here later on to discuss more of these documents. So thank you all. Go get yourself a snack. Have a peaceful, positive afternoon, day, evening, morning, whatever it is where you are. Yes, great job, Rosie. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. And thank you again, Rosie,
You're welcome.
for all your hard work that you do for the community as well.
Thank you, everyone. And pluck your eyebrows.
Yes, pluck your eyebrows. And don't buy a tarp. Because you never know. Listen, you never know. Amazon click activity. You might have a tarp come up in your suggested buy now on sale. Hey. See you later, everybody. Don't buy a tarp. Don't buy a tarp.
Okay over there? Is your victim at the hospital? Someone shot there. Alright, the ET does take pictures of the
So is it domestic related?